888-5500 or go to paulpowell.com.
I really can help.
Paul Powell. More lawyer, less fee.
Some restrictions apply.
Right now, home sweet home has never been sweeter. Our homes are more important than ever, and finding people we trust to take care of them is just as important. For over 20 years, Home Advisor has been connecting homeowners with trusted local plumbers, electricians, roofers, and more. And now we're making it easier than ever for great pros to join the Home Advisor network. For a limited time, home service businesses can get $200 in free advertising. Visit homeadvisor.com/offer200 for details. That's homeadvisor.com/offer200.
I was 9 when I lost my leg to bone cancer. I had a 50% chance to live. After chemotherapy treatments at my children's hospital and the amputation, I had beaten the odds. But would I ever be as active as I once was? Fast forward 20 years, I've competed in the Paralympics and now play on the U.S. amputee soccer team. Help kids live their dreams just like me. Put your money where the miracles are. Give to your Children's Miracle Network Hospital.
1015 FM, 720 AM. KDON, the talk of Las Vegas. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Hello, everyone. This is President Trump, the greatest president in the history of presidents. And the only show I listen to is the top-rated show, Sharp
Stabbing the president with a syringe full of air.
They are the best.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Oh yeah, what's up, Las Vegas? Good to be back at you live. That's right, live on a Wednesday. We are back from vacation. We are broadcasting live on YouTube. It is the Vegas Take YouTube page, of course, live right here on KDWN. It is Sharp and Shapiro. That's right. We give you the left, the right, and everywhere in the middle, covering it all here. That is what we do. Two guys from a Vegas perspective talking national news. We're going to be talking a lot, of course, about Phase 2. Governor Sisolak making the announcement last night, although the announcement didn't come the way we thought it was going to come. We'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. This atrocious situation in Minneapolis. Protest after this man, George Floyd, was basically, I'm just going to call it for what it is, murdered by at least one police officer, maybe several, and now 4 police officers have been fired. We'll get to that coming up at the bottom of the hour. Basham, the only liberal talk show host in Las Vegas, will be joining us in hour number 2. Why is the President of the United States accusing Joe Scarborough of murder? It's absurd. We'll get to that coming up in hour number 2. A lot to get to there. Jimmy Fallon in a little bit of trouble as well. Now there's a blackface scandal involving him. We'll get to that coming up in hour number 3. And then, one of these comedy clubs going to be opening up. One of my favorite comedy clubs in town is the Comedy Cellar at the Rio. I've been there a number of times. And the MC of that club, Mark Cohen, will be joining us in hour number 3. And we'll talk a little Vegas Golden Knights. We are going to see an NHL postseason, which is exciting. And lucky for us, the Vegas Golden Knights are in the playoffs. So we'll get to that coming up in hour number 3. Now, I took a nice long vacation. Well, we all were on vacation. I know that our producer went to Wisconsin. JD stayed here with his family. I actually took a nice trip to San Diego. And let me just start with the airports. I go to McCarran last week, and there was nobody there. It's like a ghost town. All the shops were closed. There was literally nobody on my flight. I take a quick flight to San Diego. We had to wear our masks. And I stayed at a casino. I stayed on an Indian reservation at a casino. They check your temperature when you walk into the hotel. You cannot be in there if your temperature is over 99.5. You cannot be in the hotel or the casino. So that's the first thing. The second thing is you had to wear a mask at all times, unless, of course, when you're in your room. You had to wear a mask. Now, that was a pain in the ass because I wear glasses. And when I'm wearing a mask, my glasses get all fogged up. Then I go onto the casino floor. And I'm checking out the casino floor, and I guess this is something that everybody's going to have to get used to in Las Vegas, right, guys? I mean, I'm on the casino floor, and it was so weird, guys. I go to the craps table. JD, have you ever played you played craps before, right? So you know how the game works.
Yeah, I played craps before, Brian.
So here's how this works during this pandemic. They only allow 2 players on each side of the craps table. Every time a player leaves, the pit boss has to come around and use disinfectant and clean the area. Every time a player touches money, they have to use the lotion. What's that stuff called? I forgot the word.
Hand sanitizer?
Hand sanitizer, yeah. You have to.
Did you just call hand sanitizer lotion?
Whatever it's called. You know what I meant.
I do.
So they're using hand sanitizer every time you touch money, but yet when you touch the chips, you don't have to use the hand sanitizer. That's what I don't understand. That was weird. Nobody's wearing gloves, but here's the weird part. They disinfect the dice after every player's roll. They have a towel, and they have the pit boss who sprays the dice with disinfectant. Here's what doesn't make any sense to me, and this is a criticism to not just Gavin Newsom, but to anybody who's going to put these laws in place or these rules and regulations in casinos. What is the point of using dividers for blackjack tables and only having 3 or 4 people at a blackjack table when I look at the roulette table and there were like 20 people not practicing social distancing at the roulette table? The problem I have here is there's no consistency. And then we go to a restaurant, me and my friend, we go to a steakhouse, right? And anyone who knows me knows I don't overeat. I don't have a huge appetite. So I have half of a steak, and then I don't finish the meal. And I said, "Can I get this half a steak to go?" And they said, "No, sir, I'm sorry. We can't give you any food to go in this casino. It's the new rules and regulations." And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's dumb. Does that make any sense? And I guess their reasoning is they don't want people eating and playing the casino games and stuff. First of all, what am I going to do? I'm going to eat a steak with my hand while I'm playing slots? It didn't make any sense at all. So the point I'm trying to make here is that there are a lot of inconsistent rules, and now that's the state of California.
Did you mention the beer thing with the mask?
Oh, that's another thing that I was going to get to. So my friend is sitting down at a slot machine. What casino was this called? I don't even remember. It was on an Indian reservation. And
Viejas?
Viejas, yeah. So my friend is sitting there playing a slot machine, and she's drinking a beer. So as you know, you cannot wear a mask while you're drinking or eating. So she takes the mask off so she could enjoy her beverage, her adult beverage. A security guard comes over and says, "Ma'am," this is what he said, quote, "every single time after you take a sip, you got to put that mask back on." So, of course, I was effing with the guy because you know how I am. I'm a smartass. I say to him, "What if the sip to rest ratio is only 4 seconds?" He looked at me, he gave me a weird look. I'm like, "No, I'm serious. What if I take a sip?"
His brain exploded when you asked.
It takes at least 5 seconds to put the mask on. So what if I'm taking sips and it only takes 3 or 4 seconds? He looks at me and he doesn't respond. He just kind of rolls his eyes at me. I'm making fun of the situation because it's ridiculous. We all want to be safe, but we also need to be smart about this, okay? Disinfecting the dice after every roll, is that really going to save somebody's life? You have 20 people at a roulette table, okay? But yet you have these dividers at the blackjack table. Be consistent. Either have the dividers or don't have it.
Did it take the fun out of it for you?
It really, to an extent, it really did. I'll be honest with you, it really did. So I'm sitting at the slot machine. I got my mask on. I'm playing some slots. But I tried playing craps, and I'll be honest with you, I did not have a good time. The game was a lot slower. Again, I'm not exaggerating here, folks. Let me explain to you what, if you're in Las Vegas right now and you want to gamble, this is what you're going to have to deal with. I can almost guarantee you. And again, we're going to get to phase 2, where Governor Sisolak, most likely some of these casinos are going to open June 4th, right? When you walk into a casino, be prepared for this, ladies and gentlemen, because I had to experience it on vacation in San Diego. It's not going to be much different here. I promise you that. They're going to check your temperature when you walk in. I guarantee you they're going to do that. If you don't want to get your temperature taken, or if you're not feeling good, or you might have a fever, good luck getting into a casino. It ain't going to happen.
It's not a rectal thermometer, though.
No, it's not. I know you would enjoy that, but it's not. But be prepared for that. You're going to have to wear a mask. I'm telling you, when these casinos open up, you're going to have to wear a mask. If you think you're just going to get to a table on a Friday or a Saturday night, good luck, because a lot of these craps tables are only going to have 4 spots. A lot of these blackjack tables are only going to have 2 or 3 spots. It's not going to work, and that's if people are crowding the casinos. I can tell you right now, the casino in San Diego was crowded. There were a lot of people there not practicing social distancing. So be prepared for that. Be prepared for using a lot of hand sanitizer. They're going to make you use it. Be prepared to wear your mask. You have to be prepared as you walk into a casino. I was not prepared for all of this. I wasn't used to it. I've been gambling for almost 20 years. And I was not used to it, and it did take the fun out of it. And I got to tell you, when these casinos open up June 4th, I may go to some of the restaurants. I don't think I'm going to gamble. And the reason why is because I didn't really have I had a great time in San Diego not gambling. I had a great time going to the beaches, and that's another subject I wanted to talk about. So Gavin Newsom has this rule in place in these beaches. You can't sit down at any time. You can't even stand still at any time. You have to constantly be moving and walking. So you've got these police officers on these beaches. You know, they're in their four-wheelers or whatever you call those things, and they're policing everybody. They were very nice. Don't get me wrong. The police were very nice and understanding, but they said, you guys got to get up. You can't sit anywhere. You can't sit on a bench. I'm eating a hot dog and a soda, and I had to be walking while I did it. Otherwise, I couldn't be on the beach. And I understand why they're doing it. I don't agree with it. As long as you're 6 to 12 feet away from somebody, I don't see anything wrong with sitting down on the beach. My thing is, don't open up the beaches unless you're ready. And I really think some of the rules and regulations in California are utterly ridiculous. I don't want people to get sick, and I'm the first person that will tell you I want people to be safe. I want people to practice social distancing. I don't want people to get the virus and, God forbid, die. We don't want the virus to spread. I totally understand that. But don't open up the beaches when most people aren't even paying attention to your laws and rules and regulations anyway. I saw a cop in a car on the beach tell 4 or 5 people to get off their blanket and you got to keep walking. They get up, and then 5 minutes later, they sit back down again. People are not paying attention to these rules. It's a waste of taxpayer money because you don't want your police officers that are getting paid to have to worry about that. You want them to be on the streets getting the real criminals. And if people are not practicing social distancing, I'm with the police. But tell me how it hurts you if someone is sitting down on the beach and they're at least 10 to 15 feet away from somebody else. How is that hurting anybody? I don't understand that at all. I don't understand that law. God forgive me. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. So I'm just telling you guys, be prepared. I went through this last week. I was in San Diego. I saw all they were doing. So just because things are reopening doesn't mean anything is back to normal. I'm telling you guys, I've been through it. There's going to be no sense of normalcy, even on June 4th when the casinos open. Even when everything opens up here, it's not going to be like it was. I'm trying to tell you this because I'm saying you've got to be prepared for this. I was not prepared for it. It was a shock to me. It's going to be a shock to you. I'm telling you, you're going to say, when you experience it, you're going to understand what I'm talking about. Your way of life is changing. I'm not saying it's changing forever. I'm not saying it's going to change for the next 5 years, but for the next year or so at minimum, life will not be the same. Just because Sisolak is giving the casinos the right to open on June 4th, and we assume that's what's going to happen, it doesn't mean we're going to be back to normal. And speaking of Governor Sisolak, I have to give criticism where criticism is due. I understand that somebody within his surroundings, I don't know exactly who, but somebody contracted the coronavirus. That is my understanding. So he had to cancel his press conference yesterday. That's frustrating. It's frustrating that he had to cancel it an hour or two before. That stuff can't happen. It can't happen. And if my biggest criticism with this governor in this state, who happens to be a Democrat, my biggest criticism of Governor Sisolak is this. Their communications department sucks. They are very bad at doing interviews locally. If MSNBC calls up or CNN calls up, Governor Sisolak will be the first one on the line to do that interview. But when it comes to locals in Las Vegas, the local TV networks, the local radio stations, they are horrible. So I have always criticized the governor for that. Now, as far as the communications department goes, you cannot cancel a press conference an hour or two before it happens when you already are not doing a lot of press conferences.
And what was the rationale behind that, Brian?
Well, like I just said, there was somebody within Governor Sisolak's organization claiming that they have the coronavirus and they were taking precautions. Don't know who that was.
He was in a room with where someone possibly had the virus but wasn't actually present in the room at that time, and they were afraid that that person may have transferred it to another person.
Okay, regardless, my problem is not canceling a press conference. My problem is don't cancel it an hour or two before it's supposed to happen. That's my issue.
Especially a press conference that has so many jobs on the line. Because phase 2 reopening for Las Vegas or for Nevada in general is, I mean, it's putting probably 150,000 people back in work, back at work that have been unemployed for the last 3 months. And so people are really, really concerned about getting their jobs back, getting their lives back, going to the pool because it's going to be 107 this week. And people are thinking about that. They're not thinking about, does Governor Sisolak possibly have COVID-19?
Well, again, my criticism is the way they handled it yesterday. I didn't like the way they handled it. First of all, you can't cancel a press conference an hour or two before. Then we're hearing mixed messages, right? Then we're hearing that he's going to do some sort of video, right? Then the video thing came out, and all the news organizations, and it's not the news' fault. They're just getting information from Sisolak's. It's Sisolak's office. These people in the communications department at Sisolak are some of the worst I think I've ever had to deal with. They're horrible. So we get this information that comes out that they're going to be releasing a video. Now, why he couldn't release this video? Well, he claimed it was technical difficulties. How difficult is it to do something like Facebook Live?
And quarantine.
Yeah.
They cited two things. Technical difficulty and the fact that the staff was in quarantine.
So why are they putting out the information?
They couldn't record this video.
I think it's possible that, and this is, you can call it a conspiracy theory if you want, but an article came out of Politico a couple days ago that said that Steve Sisolak is being investigated by the Nevada GOP because of.
Well, I don't think that has anything to do with this.
Well, I think that it's possible that he was trying to avoid answering some type of questions like that.
I think
that's possible.
I don't think that has anything to do with it.
You don't think so?
Absolutely not.
You don't think that people are being looked? I guess there was a company called MedMen.
Okay, so this is a press conference, but
that
this
was possibly asking their giving money to their employees to have them put it towards Governor Sisolak's political campaign 2 years ago.
And I don't know if that's true, but like I said,
that's a Politico article, Brian.
Has nothing to do with this. This is a coronavirus press conference. Just like when I get angry at Trump for getting off topic and not talking about coronavirus issues, it would anger me if that's what they were talking about. This specific press conference was about phase 2. And all they have to do is a disclaimer and saying, please stay on topic. We're only answering questions about the coronavirus. That would handle that situation. But again, going back to what I said earlier, the way his office handles things, their communications department, is a joke. They're pathetic. Why Governor Sisolak doesn't do more interviews locally is ridiculous. With that being said, they're going into phase 2. Nevada gyms, movie theaters, churches will be reopening on Friday. But again,
we didn't find that out till very late at night.
Very late
because
last night.
The third thing that they did now we're going to release the prepared remarks, and that didn't come till I don't think
10 o'clock.
10 o'clock at night.
Yeah. But I don't have a problem with Governor Sisolak talking to the national media because he said he was on a call with.
You got to do both.
But I have no problem with talking to the national media because the country needs to know when Las Vegas is open for business.
But JD, you have to understand,
and to what degree Las Vegas. So I'm going to give Governor Sisolak some credit here for doing that.
I'm not. Here's why.
Why?
You're not understanding what I'm saying.
Tourists need to know that Las Vegas is open for business.
Hold on, you're not listening. I have no problem with him doing national interviews. That's fine. What I do have a problem with is that he'll immediately do a national interview, but he won't do any local interviews. Do both.
Right.
Okay? Do both.
And why do you think he does that?
Okay. Well, I think it's ego.
You think he enjoys the spotlight?
I think it's ego.
So if he enjoys the spotlight, then why?
He's not alone.
Of course he's not. I mean, most politicians do enjoy this. Why the politicians?
You have to do both.
Of course, but if that's the case, then why did he suddenly cancel this yesterday? For a guy that enjoys the spotlight, that's not a move that a guy that enjoys the spotlight would just randomly do.
I'm going to give them,
especially under the pretenses that he did it.
I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that there were health concerns, but with those health concerns, here's where my criticism is. Here's
webcam, Facebook Live.
Well, here's where my criticism
Twitch, Periscope.
It's the way.
Literally anything.
Okay.
TikTok?
It's TikTok.
Sure, TikTok.
It's the way their office handled this yesterday that I don't like. And my biggest criticism with Governor Sisolak is their media department, their communications department, and their lack of communication. The lack of communication with the governor and some of his people are bad, very bad. I give them an F. Terrible. I don't like the way they handled the situation yesterday. What Governor Sisolak should do is hold the press conference today. You put out the statement yesterday. Guys, we're going to postpone the press conference one day. That's all he had to do. Put out a statement. Put out your speech to the media and then get it out there. And then hold a press conference today. He could have done that. They didn't do it. So that is where my criticism lies with Governor Sisolak. I just think the way they communicate with us is a joke. It's horrible. But like I mentioned, we are now going to be going into phase 2. There's going to be no sense of normalcy. I explained to you what I had to go through in San Diego. As I mentioned, the gyms are going to open, the movie theaters, churches.
I think you're wrong.
What do you mean if you think
I think you said it's going to last a year. I think it'll last maybe a couple of months. I mean, deaths are way, way down. We had the least amount of deaths we've had in 12 weeks.
Okay, so here's what I meant. Here's what I meant, though, when I said a year. In the next year or so, we are not going to be back to normal like we were before this virus got here. That's what I mean by a year. There are going to be, forget about the phases for a second. When we are in a situation where there's no such thing as social distancing anymore, you don't have to wear masks. Nobody's checking your temperatures. You can sit wherever you want. I don't think everything will be back to normal for at least a year. And the reason why I say that, and by the way, it's not just my opinion, I've heard a lot of other experts say that, is because a lot of doctors are saying, scientists, even those that are, think that this was an overreaction. Many of the experts are saying this will 100% come back in the wintertime. And if it does come back in the wintertime, I don't know how strong, but if it does come back in the wintertime, this is going to continue. This isn't going away.
Actually, there are experts that are saying that there are not enough. The virus is disappearing so quickly that they're not going to be able to do legitimate vaccine trials.
I haven't heard that. I don't know who said that.
They're also saying the CDC came out and said that the best guess on the mortality rate is 0.26 when factoring in the asymptomatic cases. Now, if you took out the nursing home deaths, which were roughly 55% of the deaths across the country. In many cases, they were totally unnecessary.
Still deaths.
Then you're looking at a 0.1%, which is the exact same as the flu. That means for anyone, this is what the CDC is saying. The numbers that the CDC are putting out are basically telling us, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not claiming to be, but they're basically telling us that if you are not in a nursing home, the chances of dying of this virus are the same as the flu.
Okay, well, to go.
And without the nursing home deaths,
we only have a minute here left to go, but the bottom line is we don't have a cure for this virus. It is called a pandemic.
Fauci also said that there's a chance that the vaccine isn't actually effective.
Right. We've called this a pandemic for a reason. It's certainly not the flu, and we've had close to 100,000 people die in just a few months. So it's definitely not the flu. I will never compare it to the flu, and I'll never agree with anyone who dares to compare it to the flu. I just won't do that. But we got to switch topics here. When we come back, a big story, a sad story, and it's coming out of Minneapolis. His name is George Floyd. There's a video of it. Is it as big as Rodney King? Well, I don't know about that, but certainly this story is just as big as the Garner situation that happened in New York. This is a situation where this man, I guess you could call it murder. At least one police officer is seen with his knee over this man's neck. And we have the audio for you. And now we're learning new information. We have another camera angle. Did this man actually resist arrest? Well, we're going to have the answer for you on that as well. These 4 police officers were fired. They were fired within a day after this video surfaced. What does that tell you? The swift action of the police department. They know that these 4 officers effed up big time. So now what is going to happen? Should these officers be charged with murder? We'll discuss that coming up next, and we'll have the audio for you. You are listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.
You looking for a positive? I've got it. Use your life insurance while you're living. MyTermLifeGuy.com. Look, with everything that we've been through, don't just think about your family. You got to think about you. Term life insurance. Get one that lets you use it while you're living. MyTermLifeGuy.com. It's that simple. MyTermLifeGuy.com. A $1 million policy for a healthy male non-smoker below $35 a month. MyTermLifeGuy.com. Sponsored by Gold Coast Insurance Group.
I'll have you talk about this other video that surfaced, okay?
Good sleep is essential for good health, so let's revitalize your home right now.
You should see it.
Fresh new mattress.
Did you see the protests in Minneapolis where they're breaking into cop cars and
all the
dumping shit?
COVID-19 government preventive standards. So
How'd they get? They're like in the police parking lot, bashing in windows in the police parking lot. No one's doing anything about it.
Beauty Rest, Tempur-Pedic, Sealy, and Stearns and Foster.
I don't know if they broke in or they just got, I don't know.
120 days sleep easy guarantee.
Daryl, well done.
Legal services you can file.
He sends me a text and says, well done.
Thank you. I'm glad you approved.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God.
How about saying well done 2 weeks ago when you berated us?
File your bankruptcy for $799 or no money down. Get your life back for no money down.
Oh, when he was at his rally?
FairFeeLegalServices.com. 702-703-3333.
101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN, the talk of Las Vegas.
White cop who knelt on Floyd's neck was involved in a fatal police shooting, and one of the other officers, fire officers, paid $25,000 settlement after being sued for excessive force.
Its proposed gradual reopening needs state approval.
Yeah, this Asian guy.
Get more from correspondent Natasha
Yeah, the
Chen.
Asian cop.
Is considered by the Orange County mayor And all things considered, it looks like the mayor
All right, so I'm
will
going
be
to have you
making
talk
his
about the
decision
protest
rather
and any new
quickly because
information that
county
you learned.
staff have
But
already
before I
been
do that, I'm
making
going to give a
site
little
visits
background. I'm going to
to
play
the
the
theme
audio
parks
first.
on Tuesday of this week.
And then,
The parks, which employ about 70,000
I would
people,
call
have been
it
closed for 2 months.
minor resistance.
Washington, D.C. is set to begin
Not
its first phase of reopening
aggressive.
Friday.
He wasn't
Mayor Muriel
threatening the
Bowser says
officers'
the
lives in
district
any way,
now
shape, or
has had
form,
a
or their
sustained
bodily harm.
He wasn't
decline
trying
in
to run
cases
away.
over
And
the
that
past
changes the
14
narrative.
days, allowing it
And
to
that
begin
completely
the
changes the
process
narrative.
of
Now, he probably said,
reopening.
no, I'm not getting out of the
Gatherings
car.
of more
He
than
probably
10
said
will
that.
still be
And then
prohibited.
he resisted, but
Non-essential retailers will be allowed to reopen for curbside or front
You need to
door
talk about
pickup.
this as
The
compared
Dow up
also to
230 points. I'm Mike Moss.
Gardner, because now I think it looks
time to
exactly
check
like
the
the Gardner
ropes
case.
from the Learning Rope Traffic Studio.
Because Garner was
lightly
This
resisted.
report
slightly
sponsored
resisted as
by
well.
Allstate. Watch for
But you
slowing through the
shouldn't
crash
have-
Charleston Boulevard at Maryland Parkway.
officer
Police
said,
on the
"Look,
scene now.
please put your
Avoid
hands behind
delays.
your
Use
back."
an alternate like Stewart or
Let's make
Sahara
this easy
instead.
on us.
Also, an accident
then
on
if
Rainbow
he
Boulevard
refuses to
at
do something, you
Sahara
gotta do
Street,
something.
affecting
But
southbound. Or
an
take
arm
Buffalo
bar
toward
or a
Pines.
knee
Good
to
alternates
the
gets
neck,
you
I
around
just
that
don't
one.
I'm still
understand.
trying to
Roadwork
figure out.
continues
I
I-15
guess I haven't read
northbound
enough, but
at Silverado Ranch
what was he
Boulevard.
doing?
The exit
Why
ramp
did
closed
they
until 5 this
arrest
afternoon.
him?
With an Allstate agent, you get a local expert and help finding the best coverage for you. Plus, when you bundle home and auto, you can save. So call your local Allstate agent today.
In his
Are
car?
you in good hands? I'm John
They just
Michaels
caught
from
up
the
to him?
KDON
Yeah,
Traffic
false
Center.
identity.
You've heard me talk about Homey and how they will save you thousands
Forgery.
of dollars when you buy or sell a home. Not only are they disrupting the traditional real estate model, but I am blown away by how they are investing in our local community during these tough times. I couldn't
So
be
this was
more
was this like a
proud to
traffic? They
endorse
found him
Homey,
and they
here's
pulled him
why.
over.
Homey is committing up to $100,000 to the United Way of Southern Nevada to help keep people in their homes through rent and mortgage assistance for those impacted by COVID-19. For every home bought or sold with Homey over the next 90 days, they will donate $500 to the United Way. Even more importantly, Homey will pay their entire $2,500 listing fee back to you if you are forced to sell your home due to this crisis. That's right, no selling fee. That's huge. It's amazing to see a new company in Las Vegas step up in such a big way. Text JD to 88588 to buy or sell with Homey. Again,
Larry's
text
going a little stir
JD
crazy.
to
Tell him Red Rock is back
88588.
open.
Stay safe and save thousands.
The restaurants,
Homey really does have our back.
So
Wanted to learn
Amber
a new
Dixon from
language
Channel
like
3 is
French,
reporting
Spanish,
that there
or
will
Russian,
be
but thought it would be too difficult and
UFC
time-consuming?
fights
Then
at
go to
GM
Babbel.com
without
and try it for
crowds.
free.
What in Billy
Babbel
June?
works because it's built around real life. It teaches
Caesars
you everyday
confirmed June
practical
4th reopening.
conversations that you will actually use. In 15
Caesars
minutes a
Entertainment
day,
confirms
you'll
June
be on
4th
your way to
reopening for
speaking a
Caesars
new
Palace in
language in
Flamingo.
just a few weeks. Babbel uses a
In
modern
accordance with directives from
conversation-based
Governor
technique
Sisolak
that
and
makes
the Nevada
language
Gaming
engaging,
Control,
fun,
Caesars
and memorable. It
today
starts by
confirms it
teaching
will
you words and
resume
phrases.
gaming and
Then,
hospitality
sentences
operations in
gradually get
Vegas
more
at Caesars
complex.
Palace.
Soon, you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics.
4
Babbel
days
is
too late.
created by language experts who use the spaced repetition method
For
to
betting
help you learn
purposes.
quickly.
You know,
You were
that's
close.
what
It was
I was
close.
hoping for June 1st.
With Babbel,
Really.
you can speak a new language.
When are we back, for God's sakes?
Language for life. Now try Babbel free. Just go to Babbel.com or download the Babbel app and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. BABBEL.com.
Hey, it's Lee Goldberg of the GCI Guys at Realty One Group. Do you know anyone that's looking to buy a home, sell a home, rent, move from California? If so, give them my number, 702-902-3029. All listeners of the Vegas Tape get a grand in your hand back at closing. Hometown heroes, veteran, military, police, teacher, nurse, I'm giving you $2,000 back. That also goes for hospitality and casino employees. Free use of a moving truck for a day, 6 months of home security. Call me,
It was a deli.
702-902-3029.
He was arrested for allegedly trying to
The
use foreign sex
GCI
at
Guys.
a local
What would you
deli.
consider a fair fee for a bankruptcy?
How about one low flat fee? Sound fair?
Fair Fee Legal Services can prepare and file your Bank 99.
Call us at 702-703-3333.
Or check us out at fairfeelegalservices.com.
Get a fresh start.
At a fair fee.
Yeah, the cops located his car later that night.
Fairfeelegalservices.com.
Folks gonna let Floyd get out of the car
702-703-3333.
before
If you
physically
have a
resisting
problem with
officers.
your teeth
However,
and don't know what
new
to
footage
do, pick up the
obtained by
phone and
Fox
call
9
AQ.
that
AQ
shed light
Denture
on
and
moments
Implant
leading
Center
up
has
to
built a
arrest.
strong reputation
They
by
showed
delivering
officers
affordable
manhandling
quality
and
in a
forcibly
timely
removing
manner.
him
AQ
from
Dental
his
offers
car
you
as he is
complete
placed in
dentistry, including
handcuffs
crowns, bridges,
outside the
relines,
cup
dentures,
full
and
of
denture
groceries.
repairs. All the work is created on site at AQ Dental by their trained lab technicians. Call today and set your appointment at 565-6000. If you have a problem with your dentures and you don't know what to do, pick up the phone and call AQ 702-565-6000.
Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, glad you could join us live on a Wednesday. We've been on some vacation time. You know, we all need a little vacation here and then. I took a trip to San Diego. Our producer took a trip to Wisconsin live.
I actually took a trip too, Brian.
You did?
Yeah. I stayed in an Airbnb. It was a buddy of mine's wife's 30th birthday, and their entire family came down from small town, 800 population, Nebraska.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Actually, I drank for 3 days straight for the first time in 5 years, Brian.
Oh.
Yep.
And
I got some good sun. If you want to check it out, check us out on YouTube.
Did you drink to the point of vomiting or
no, just consistent alcoholic consumption for about 3 days straight.
Fair enough.
Yep.
I was unaware of that.
Yep.
Well, congratulations on drinking.
Call it a mini staycation. But the place I was at had like 57 TVs, and I had no sports to watch. It was horrible.
Well, I did bet on the we'll get to that later on, but I did bet on the Tiger Woods golf thing, and I wanted you to place a bet for me, a very large bet, which you didn't do. So you did cost me some money. Thank you for that.
My money is locked up in Westgate, Brian.
However, I did have a couple friends bet on the Tiger Woods Phil Mickelson golf match, and I won because I told you Tiger was going to win that. Anyway, we need to move on to more important things than drinking and my gambling habits. But a very serious situation that took place here. And by the way, welcome back to the Vegas Take at Sharp and Shapiro. Very serious situation that took place in Minneapolis. Now, as you know, there's a lot of tension between law enforcement and the way they treat certain minorities. And, you'd like to say that the majority of police officers are good people and they do a good job. But, these bad apples that are out there, they got to go. And in Minneapolis, okay, a man by the name of George Floyd, it was alleged that he wrote a bad check in a supermarket. He's in a car, and the video shows, at least the original video, showed at least one police officer with his knee over this guy's neck. He's pleading with the officers, saying, "I can't breathe. I'm done. I can't breathe. Please, officer." He's basically begging for his life. And this might be some difficult audio for you to listen to, but I think it's important that you hear this because it really should hit home for all of us. What would you do if this was your loved one begging for his life? This is George Floyd. This is the original video that went viral yesterday. Keep in mind, he is on the ground. He is subdued. He is handcuffed. He is lying on the ground. He is no threat to police officers. None. They've already checked him for weapons. He's on the ground, and you have a police officer, his knee in the guy's neck, his face on the pavement. This is George Floyd, in his own words, in the last seconds of his life. Have a listen to this.
Keep crying. Please. Please. Please, I can't breathe. Please, man. Please, somebody help me.
All right, so first of all, that is extremely difficult to listen to. I'm at a loss for words. It's heartbreaking to hear somebody like that crying and grunting and really begging for his life. This was not a man that, just shot somebody. This was not a man that just committed a strong arm robbery. This was not a man who was a murderer or a kidnapper or a rapist. At worst case scenario, this was a man who maybe forged a check, and now we're learning that might not be true. This is awful. I don't care what color of your skin is right now. This is a murder. This is awful. So what has transpired since then? Thank God that there's video of this. And I said the same thing in the Ahmaud Arbery. Thank God we had video. Thank God we live in a society now where there's body cameras, even though I don't trust necessarily the police doing the right thing and releasing body camera footage if it makes them look bad. But thank God there were bystanders there that were videoing. If you see something like this, video the hell out of it with your cell phones. So what has transpired since then? Now, what I said, the police were saying that this man resisted arrest for 10 minutes. So my initial reaction was, I don't support what these officers did, and I hope that officer, gets charged with murder. But then again, this would have never happened if this guy didn't resist. Was he throwing punches? Well, we need to find out. Well, now there's another video that has surfaced, and we're learning more information about what took place before the incident. Jason Stein is our producer, and there's a lot of information that has come out in the last 24 hours, especially this morning. What can you tell us the latest on this case? We know that the 4 officers were immediately fired. Now, if that doesn't tell you something, I don't know what does. Usually they get put on paid leave pending an investigation. They fired these guys.
They were put on paid leave, but like for 12 hours.
Right.
And then fired. So the firing was almost immediate.
Right. Yeah. So what have we learned? What has transpired?
Well, Fox 9 in Minneapolis actually just released a new video that is from apparently from one of the police dash cams that shows the moments before the officer puts his knee in George Floyd's neck and ultimately, kills him. And this video shows pulling him forcibly, yes, out of his vehicle during the stop. And I would describe it as a mild resistance. I mean, he's definitely being forcibly removed from his car, but he's not throwing punches. He's not trying to run. He's not putting the officers' lives in danger. I would describe him as stiff. He's stiff. He's not exactly complying, but he's not exactly running away either. So certainly nothing in this video that would justify what we see minutes later, which is the officer with his knee in his back once the man is subdued. And by the way, this officer has his hand in his pocket.
Yeah.
That was very interesting to me. Just very casually.
His knee wasn't in his back. It was on his neck.
I'm sorry, I said back. I meant neck. I'm sorry. And the officer kind of got his hand in his pocket. And, there's no real threat at that point. So we're learning about that. We're learning about what happened in the minutes prior, which, again, is like you said, contradicts what the officers apparently said about the arrest. And then also, this may or may not be relevant, but the cop who knelt on Floyd's neck was actually involved in a fatal police shooting in the past, and one of the other of the 4 officers who was at the scene paid out a $25,000 settlement after being sued for excessive force 3 years ago.
Okay, that's important. That is important. That is relevant. Let me be clear on this.
Well,
okay?
That's a pattern of behavior, Brian.
Yeah, let me be clear on this. Firing these officers is not enough. The officer that had his knee on this guy's neck, what is going through that officer's mind when you hear this man in handcuffs, subdued, begging for his life? The officer has his knee on his neck like a dummy, not moving. And by the way, I watched the video, and I have to describe this to the listeners. I have to, like it or not. This man is not breathing, and he looks dead to me. And while the paramedics are on their way, while this man's heart is not beating, and he's clearly not breathing, and he's not moving, the officer doesn't move his knee. The knee is still on his neck for the minutes after this guy's looks like he's already dead, and he probably was.
And the people filming it, and we didn't have it in that clip, but there's people that are standing around, including the woman who filmed it, are saying, "He can't breathe. Get your knee off his
nose is
neck."
bleeding. He's begging for his life.
Dying. Get your knee off his neck.
He's literally dying in front of these officers. Now, I understand being a police officer is a very difficult job, and I understand that a lot of these officers are not perfect. With that being said, I want to hear police officers throughout the country right now. This is the time where you do not defend your own. You call out these police officers for what they are, and they are murderers. They killed this man. They're murderers. This guy needs to be arrested, at least one of them. I don't know about all 4, but the guy that had his knee on this guy's neck needs to be charged with murder. Now, he should be in jail. Firing this guy is not enough. I don't want to see what happened in the Garner situation, where all those officers got off. That cannot happen in this case. It can't. That guy needs to be charged with murder now. Arrest this guy, just like what you did with the McMichaels. Put him in jail. Let's await a trial. Let's get an entire investigation. That guy needs to be charged with murder. I want to open up the phone lines. The number, 702-257-5396. Again, that number to call, 702-257-5396. I pose this question to you, JD, and to the listeners right now. This is the question I pose. What do you think should happen to these officers? Do you think it was acceptable what they did? And do you think if you lightly resist arrest, and we watched the video, folks, this guy was not throwing punches. Did he not put his hands behind his back? Absolutely. He did resist arrest. But do you think it's deserving?
He was thrown out of his car, though,
yes.
Brian. If I was thrown out of my car, I would be extremely angry and freaked out, and I might do something very similar as well.
I'm not defending these officers, but when an officer says you got to put your hands behind your back, you better do it. That's all I'm going to say. It's not deserving of what happens. I'm not defending the officers. All I'm saying, and I'm asking the question to the listeners, what do you think should happen to these officers? They've already been fired. Do you think that was deserving? What do you think should happen to these police officers in these types of situations?
Here's what I think.
Let me just give out the number one more time, then I want to get your thoughts on it. 702-257-5396. Again, that number, 257-5396, is the number to call.
So at a minimum, manslaughter for the officer that had his knee on his neck, and accessory to murder, if it is murder one, accessory to murder for the two officers that were clearly able to hear what he was. Because if we could hear the video, then so could the officer. That's the thing you have to think about. If we could hear that, if we could hear that man literally getting his last breaths taking place, his last pleads for his life under totally false pretenses because he didn't actually commit the forgery, but if we could hear that, then so could the police officer. And Stein made a very, very good point. His hand was in his pocket. He wasn't weird. He didn't find this guy to be a threat at all. He enjoyed what he was doing.
I tend to agree.
He was enjoying ending this guy's life. And Minnesota Police Department, remember 2016 Philando Castile?
Yep.
There is a pattern of systemic racism in the police department.
No question.
And there's stats out there that within the Minnesota Police Department, African Americans die at about a 13 times higher rate than most other police departments across the country. There needs to be a major investigation into the entire police department.
And I want to just add some breaking news. We're just learning now that the FBI is now investigating.
Of course they are.
This,
they have to be.
And thank God they are. All right, let's get to the phone calls. I agree with everything you said there. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Why don't we start with Kevin? Kevin, you're first up on the Vegas take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Kevin?
Kevin, did we lose you? Did we lose Kevin?
He's gone.
All right, let's go to Al. Al, you're next up on the Vegas take. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Al?
Hey, how you guys doing, man?
Good. Doing okay.
You guys can hear me, but I just want to say this sounds like the closest thing to Rodney King since Rodney King.
Yeah,
you know?
But here's the difference. Here's the difference. Sorry to interrupt, but here's the difference. Rodney King was actually breaking a law, speeding and on drugs. I'm not defending what those officers did, obviously, but from what I understand, this guy really wasn't doing much of anything wrong. There's no evidence that he was even. Yeah, go ahead.
So it's probably worse than Rodney King. The worstest thing since Rodney King. But this guy, all I saw was the guy's knee on his neck and the guy's pleading for his life, and the other guy's just putting all his weight. He doesn't give a darn.
Yeah.
And if a guy's pleading for your life, if you're being arrested and you're pleading for your life, you got to back off. You know what I'm saying?
Especially when he's handcuffed, sir. Especially when he's handcuffed. He's not. What do you think he's going to do? Get up and run away? I don't. Okay, if you want to put your knee on his ass or on his neck or on his back.
Clearly, he had no weapons.
Yeah.
There was three other police officers there. He wasn't going to get up and run away.
Right.
They were at no risk whatsoever to them. This guy posed no risk at all to police officers.
I just want to say this because I know you guys got a lot of callers, but when you put something on somebody's neck, you're going to kill him. You're blocking his air. You need air.
You're right, you're right. Very, very good call. I appreciate your call.
Didn't you say earlier, Brian, that this was part of their training?
This is what I was just going to talk about.
But that can't be.
If you're trying to subdue somebody that is not handcuffed, that is resisting arrest, the proper procedure is you put your knee on the neck of somebody because that really disables somebody. This was not warranted because he was already handcuffed and he wasn't moving, and he was also complaining about how the fact he couldn't breathe. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Brian. Brian, you're next up on the Vegas take.
Hey, what's up, Brian?
702-257-5396 is the number to call. Who do we got next on the line? We're having some phone issues this morning. Octavius is next on the Vegas take. What's going on?
Hey, Octavius.
Hey, guy, how you doing, guys?
Good.
Doing good.
Exactly. These cops are total killers, man.
Yeah, I agree.
The guy was already down on the deck, his face almost in the side of the curb, against the police car, the wheel. The guy was immobile. He wasn't moving around. And this guy just casually had his hands in his pocket.
Right.
And putting his weight. This police officer got to be about 180 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wasn't a small guy.
In the guy's neck.
Mm-hmm.
It's a total murder.
But here's the biggest issue here is that if innocent bystanders aren't recording this, these officers get away with this scot-free. And this, you know what? I don't think so.
There's no chance to get away with this.
I don't know what's going to happen to. Well, we heard the Garner case. We heard there's no way this officer's going to get away, and he did. So I hear what the caller's saying here, and he might be right, sadly. But here's what I think is going to happen, and I could be wrong. That one officer that had his knee into this guy's neck will probably be charged with something. Maybe involuntary manslaughter, maybe manslaughter. I don't know if they'll get him with murder. I don't know what's going to happen with those other 3 officers, but if you're one of those other officers, how do you allow that to happen? How do you allow this to happen? So I think they all need to be charged with something. I appreciate the call, my man. Thank you. I got to get to some other callers.
Thanks for the call, Octavius.
Thank you. 257-5396. Let's go to Calvin. Calvin, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Calvin?
Hey, how you doing, sir?
Good.
As an officer for 30 years, I'll tell you this. Everybody's so shocked at the speediness of these guys being fired. That's just an issue. It was on video. And no officer is trained to hold his knee on a person's neck once he's in handcuffs. Once he's in handcuffs,
right,
all of our aggression stops at that moment.
Calvin, can I ask you a question, though, about policy? Because you've been a cop for 30 years. You're the perfect. Is there ever a scenario, like if this guy wasn't handcuffed, clearly he was, but if he wasn't, is there ever a procedure where you're trained to put your knee on someone's neck?
No, there's no training. But, let me just tell you, as a cop for that long, there's a lot of things we do that we're not trained to do. Sometimes when you get in the moment, you just have to do whatever comes up and take the consequence.
Right.
But when the consequences are to death, you should also pay for it, too, if you're part of it.
Sure.
My thing is, and I know you guys are probably, I know Brian's not going to like what I'm about to say, but I think we may get a smart lawyer here and sue Trump. Because if this guy gets a lawyer and say, you know what, Trump should pay for all of my lawyer fees and everything else, because he mentioned, be rough with these guys.
Well,
I'll pay your fees.
Well, I don't know. I don't really have an opinion here. And I'm not. This is Brian speaking.
I know. I'm just saying.
I'm not a Trump supporter.
I would bring that up.
Well, I'm not. Listen, I hear you. Listen.
He wears a MAGA hat.
Well, I don't know that. Well, I don't know that to be true. Well, I don't know that to be true. I just want to. Well, all right. All right. Well, listen. Whether he's a Trump supporter or not is not my concern. And All right. Well, Calvin, listen to me for a second. Calvin, listen to me for a second. This is Brian speaking. I dislike Trump. I dislike Trump more than anybody. Okay. With that being said, hear me out on this. This should have nothing to do with politics. This should have everything to do with the fact. It should have everything to do with the fact that it.
Everything that's been happening lately has come down to politics.
Listen, I blame Trump for a lot of things. Okay, I'm not going to blame him for the actions of an officer. I can't do that, Calvin. I can't do that. Here's what I can't.
I appreciate you saying that. I don't blame him for it. I'm just saying a good lawyer would say, okay, this guy was rough with this guy. You said you were going to pay their fees.
Well, I think you're referring to, and I appreciate the call. You're referring to the campaign rallies that Donald Trump had before he became president.
Talking about protesters.
Yeah, and Trump was absolutely wrong for doing that. But with all due respect, Calvin, that has absolutely nothing to do with this situation.
I suppose it's possible that 1 or 2 frivolous lawsuits could be filed, but
the family of this man is going to get money that is not going to bring him back.
And it should be a large amount of money.
But it's not going to bring him back.
And if that police officer's name is David Chauvin, if David Chauvin is a Trump supporter.
Yeah. Don't care. I don't care what his political affiliation is. I don't. Now, if he's wearing a hat that says I'm a white supremacist, or if he's wearing a hat that says white people are whatever, God, and then that's relevant to the case because it shows a pattern of being a racist. But I don't care what his political affiliation is. Let's get back to the phone calls. 702-257-5396. Let's go to Gary. Gary, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Gary?
Hey, good morning. First of all, real fast, I don't want to take up a lot of time because it's very interesting. I want to stay on subject, but I want to apologize and say I'm sorry. The last time I called you, I was totally out of line, and I give you guys a lot of credit. You guys have a lot of guts to be politically different and do a show, and that's more than I can say for a lot of people. And my buddy over there, Doug Basham, he's my radio buddy, but I disagree with him. He doesn't even do it.
Well, I appreciate that, Gary. Well, I appreciate that, Gary. Gary, can I just I'll chime in real quick. First of all, thank you for those comments. We appreciate that.
Thanks a lot.
You'll be happy to know Doug Basham is coming up next in 10 minutes.
I don't agree with him, but you know what?
Yep.
We do love horse racing and other things.
I hear you. So, Gary, what's on your mind? What do you think about this specific case here that we're talking about?
I think that what do you call it? These police officers are jerks. I don't know how they even got a job. I don't know what's wrong with them, and they need to be charged with serious crimes. The ones standing there doing nothing are just as guilty of a crime. I'm not going to say murder, but you know what? innocent police officers now are going to lose their lives because people are going to fly up the
Gary, I agree. That's a really good point because it's kind of like when you work with someone and they do something really stupid, it represents you because you work for the same company. Same thing with these police officers. I totally get your point there. My issue is this. So we just had Calvin who just called up. He's been a cop for 30 years. He's calling out these officers, and rightfully so. I want to hear officers throughout the country not defending these police officers, not staying silent. This is when we want, this is,
I want to see them protest.
exactly. I want to see these police officers out there protesting with the protesters. I want to see these police officers out there calling out these officers. This is very important. This is a time, and thank you for the call, Gary, by the way.
We need smart people.
Absolutely.
People need to come together.
Absolutely. Thank you, Gary.
Yeah, thanks a lot,
good to
Gary.
hear from you. Sober Gary calling into the show, by the way. No, but in all seriousness, he makes a couple really good points there. Number one, these officers throughout the country, it makes them all look bad.
That would be a showing of good faith if a lot of officers from a lot of different precincts in a lot of different cities around the country with major with large African American populations and strong urban populations all protested or spoke out against this particular individual and what took place. That would be a great showing of good faith for the entire country.
Sit tight, folks. We'll certainly be taking some more calls coming up in hour number 2. But coming up next, he's the only liberal talk show host in Las Vegas, in the state of Nevada. His name is Doug Basham. Donald Trump is accusing a TV host, Joe Scarborough on MSNBC, of murder with zero evidence. And I mean zero evidence to back it up. We'll talk to Doug Basham about that next. I think it's one of the worst things Donald Trump has done since being in office. Take a break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take.
The best choice for cleaning and sanitizing? Hazmat Nation. If you work in a casino, hotel, restaurant, anywhere where locals and visitors may shop or do business, then tell your boss or employer to call Hazmat Nation today at 702-730-0352. Hazmat Nation will send their Top Gun field crew to clean and sanitize every inch from top to bottom with the top technicians and safety officers. Since 2011, Hazmat Nation has been servicing many of the world's top airlines, arenas, hotels, and hospitality venues of every kind, following strict CDC and EPA guidelines. Hazmat Nation gets it done right the first time. Call Hazmat Nation at 702-730-0352. When they come out to do a free estimate, they'll send along a gallon of CDC EPA-approved hand sanitizer just to say thanks. And they can keep delivering it to you anytime you need it at everyday low-volume discounted prices. Call Hazmat Nation today at 702-730-0352 or go online to hazmatnation.com.
If your retirement plan is on set it and forget it, it's time to take control. Tune in for Financial Safari with America's Wealth Coach and best-selling author, Coach Pete D'Arruda. For more than 25 years, Coach Pete has been helping people just like you plan for retirement. Join Coach Pete every week as he discusses topics like why your retirement plan should also be an income plan.
Financial Safari with Coach Pete, Saturday morning at 10 a.m. and Sunday afternoon at 2 on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
Parents, stop making excuses for your children and do something to help them for the rest of their lives. Sign up at Infinity Math Institute for the best math tutoring in the country, the best online math tutoring in the world. We help struggling students excel and help successful students get to the next level. We are also here for parents, offering free seminars explaining what your students are learning, why it seems different from what you learned, and how you can help your child. We also offer super affordable SAT prep classes on Fridays before our super popular Friday Fun Nights, where students and parents meet like-minded and driven families in a fun and peaceful atmosphere. Coming to Infinity will be the best decision you've ever made for your child. Call 702-768-1777 or visit themathinstitute.com and tell them the Vegas Take sent you for a free assessment. That's 702-768-1777. Because at Infinity, you don't get more math problems, you get solutions.
Hello, attorney Xenophon Peters and Judah Zakalik here from Panda Law Firm.
Look, we know that nobody wants to talk about their debt or admit they have a debt problem.
Sometimes it's tough asking for help when we need it.
When you do work up the courage to make that call, be sure you're talking to someone you trust. At Panda Law Firm, new clients always meet with a licensed local Las Vegas attorney.
When you pick up the phone for help with your debt, be sure you're calling Panda Law Firm, voted Best of Las Vegas Gold for the 3rd year in a row.
Call Panda Law, 702-818-3888.
Your home for Sean Hannity, KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Special report coronavirus update. The NIH's Dr. Anthony Fauci is warning complacency can kill.
With the U.S. about to cross the 100,000 death threshold, Dr. Anthony Fauci is concerned about Memorial Day weekend scenes of people close together, not wearing masks at traditional holiday venues. Moved to the background by President Trump's focus on reinvigorating the U.S. economy, Fauci says in his daily life he's trying to lead by example.
You wear a mask, they wear a mask. You protect each other. I mean, I do it when I'm in the public for the reasons that I want to protect myself and protect others, and also because I want to make it be a symbol for people to see.
Fauci is now concerned about the political party conventions as wholesale gatherings, which President Trump wants for the GOP. Bob Costantini, Washington.
Boeing is saying the pandemic's impact on aviation has led to its cutting 12,000 U.S.-based jobs as of today. I'm Mike Moss. Weather permitting, SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket is planned to launch in a little over 3 hours. It'll be the first manned rocket launch from the U.S. in nearly a decade. Correspondent Rachel Crane is at the Space Center.
The Demo 2 mission is a culmination of a decade-long partnership between the agency and Elon Musk's space company. The launch is expected to be the first time a private company has ever sent people into orbit.
The family of George Floyd, who died after being pinned down by police, is calling for criminal charges. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry says officers failed.
When you hear someone calling for help, you are supposed to help. This officer failed in the most basic human sense.
Disney World says it will try to reopen its gates July 11th. The Disney theme park employs about 70,000 people. They've been out of jobs for almost 2 months. The Dow up 240. I'm Mike Moss.
Every home has it. It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner and Rowe Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by DuckDuckGo Privacy. An accident reported on Rainbow Boulevard at Sahara that's still active. Take an alternate like Buffalo or Torrey Pines to avoid heavy slowing in the area. And a heads up if your travels take you into California, a high wind advisory in effect for I-15 between Halloran Summit and Nevada State Line. That's of importance if you're driving a high-profile vehicle. And also roadwork I-15 northbound at Silverado Ranch continues with a right lane restriction. Tired of being tracked online? DuckDuckGo can help. With one download, you can search and browse privately, avoiding trackers, all for free. DuckDuckGo, privacy simplified. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
It's open enrollment season, and Medishare is the Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google Medishare and see if it's a fit for you. Medishare, healthcare you can believe in.
Now more than ever, we need companies that have our back. Homey just launched in Las Vegas and is already saving us thousands in real estate fees, and now they're helping our community in partnership with United Way of Southern Nevada. For each home bought or sold with Homey, they are donating $500 to the United Way to provide rent and mortgage assistance. And if you have to sell your home because of COVID-19, Homey will rebate their $2,500 listing fee back to you. Text JD to 88588 to buy or sell with Homey. Homey really does have our back.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Whether you enjoy classical, rock, or heavy metal, we all march to the beat of our own drummer or guitarist. That's why Views also offers you more ways to vape your way. It's available in 5 bold color options, 3 smooth tastes, and 3 nicotine levels. It's your vape, your way. Views, charge beyond. Underage sale prohibited.
Chuck, I know it's super easy, but can you walk our listeners through the process of getting a signature loan at Dollar Loan Center?
You'll just need a couple things. Bring along your state-issued ID, recent pay stub, and a few pieces of mail to prove where you live. And if you're getting a loan online at don'tbebroke.com, you can scan and upload all your documents right to our members area.
Sounds easy. How long does the whole process take?
We print up the contract, walk you through it step by step, explain exactly what the costs are. We want to be sure you can really afford the loan. For a new customer, all this takes around 30 minutes, and you're out the door cash in hand. Once you're in the system, it's even quicker.
That was Chuck, founder of Dollar Loan Center, where you can get up to $5,000 in just minutes. We have over 50 locations, or you can apply over the phone or online at don'tbebroke.com.
licensed by Nevada Financial Institutions Division. Customer must meet the normal loan qualifications. For review loan qualifications, visit us at don'tbebroke.com. Certain limitations may apply. Loans are subject to approval.
The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Brian, listen, I know you're a bubble-brained buffoon, sometimes maybe a bisexual liberal in sheep's clothing.
Bisexual liberal, there we go.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
That's right. That's me, ladies and gentlemen, the bisexual liberal in sheep's clothing. Welcome back. It's good to know that our listeners think so highly of me. Welcome back to the program. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro, coming at you live on a Wednesday, coming back from a nice vacation, and a lot to get to, a lot to go over, a lot for the next few hours of the show. But, I always love it when we have this guy on the show, because he is not only does he raise a lot of hell, but he's also the only liberal talk show host in the state of Nevada, and we're lucky enough to have him right here on KDWN. He does a show Saturdays, 2 to 4 p.m., and he always raises a little bit of hell. That would be none other than my friend Doug Basham. Doug, thank you so much for coming on, my friend. How are you?
Oh, good, guys. It's BLT Day on the Vegas Take, bisexual liberal time.
I like that. I always like a good BLT, Doug. I like that. That's pretty funny. All right, so Doug, here's the first subject I want to talk to you about, and it's obviously made national news. A woman by the name of Lori Klausutis, who was working with Joe Scarborough. This is back in 2001. Police report says what took place is that she was jogging. She goes into Joe Scarborough's office. She had a medical condition. She faints. She hits her head, and she dies. There was an investigation. Police said it was completely accidental. It's a horrible tragedy. Left behind her husband, Timothy Klausutis. What does Donald Trump decide to do for whatever reason in the last several days? He decides to go on a Twitter rant accusing Joe Scarborough of murder. Her husband, the widowed husband, Timothy, writes a letter pleading with the president to stop with the lies and stop spreading false rumors for the sake of his family. And what does Donald Trump do? He decides to double down, and he puts out another tweet accusing Joe Scarborough of murder when there's no evidence to back it up. This isn't just an innocent bystander, folks. This is the president of the United States. And to make it even worse, Doug Basham, the White House press secretary defended it. I want you to listen to a little bit of this audio as reporters were asking the press secretary about this murder conspiracy theory, and listen to what she had to say.
Yeah, Joe Scarborough, if we want to start talking about false accusations, we have quite a few we can go through about Mika asserting, Mika Brzezinski.
I'm asking about the president's allegation.
And I'm replying to you and saying this morning, as recently, I believe it was this morning or yesterday, Mika accused the president of being responsible for 100,000 deaths in this country. That's incredibly irresponsible. They've dragged his family through the mud. They've made false accusations that I won't go through, that I would not say from this podium against the president of the United States, and they should be held to account for their falsehoods.
Okay, she's a complete idiot, and she is disgusting for defending it, and she wouldn't answer the question. Instead, she does whataboutism. Well, what about what Joe Scarborough said with Don Imus? Completely ridiculous and disgusting. So what do you make of this whole situation, Doug?
Well, this is the latest of my last straws with him. I mean, not only did he go after, Joe Scarborough against the wishes of the woman's widow, who, by the way, called Trump's tweets vile and filth. I mean, he mocked Biden for wearing a mask. He mocked Pelosi's teeth, showed a picture of her with her mouth duct taped shut. He mocked Stacey Abrams-Waite, calling her Shamu the whale. On Memorial Day, he called a sitting Democratic congressman, Connor Lamb, who's also a Marine Corps vet. He called him a fraud. I mean, we are so past the point of Trump apologists overlooking this deviant behavior because before the virus, he hadn't yet managed to screw up the economy he inherited from Obama. Or saying things like, well, I wish he wouldn't tweet so much. I mean, there's nothing wrong with tweeting or even a lot. It's what he says. He has no decency, no honor, no integrity, and no shame. He has no moral core. And as a textbook sociopath, he is incapable of either empathy or even humanity. He's only capable of seeing things through the prism of what he thinks will make him look good at any given moment, or to distract from what's making him look bad. And the fact that there are still people willing to support him and will overlook this repugnant behavior and vote for him again in November, I don't know where they get the idea that it's a good idea to have Alex friggin' Jones as our president. I mean, that is just as damning an indictment of this country as there's ever been. And the question I have is, when are we collectively as a nation going to rise up and scream enough of this aberrant behavior and disgusting depravity from this pathetic excuse for a human being? I mean, are we just supposed to accept this and help? I mean, there's no longer any debate, or at least any intelligent debate, over exactly who and what Trump is. And there hasn't been for a long time. The only question in my mind that remains is, who are we as a country if we continue to let this homicidal degeneracy continue?
Homicidal degeneracy? How do you come up with that particular phrase? Doug, homicidal degeneracy? Please elaborate on that.
Homicidal degeneracy?
Yes, yes.
100,000 people that are dead from the coronavirus.
And you're saying that those are all on, I mean, he shut down travel to China.
Well, I don't want to talk about
I mean, that was, yes, he did. Yes, he did. No, it's not the biggest lie. But, no.
No, he didn't. He still allowed ships and cargo and crews to come.
He also allowed American citizens who were in China to come back to the United States, which any other president would.
We will get to
have a lot of
hold
cases
on.
then at that point.
Gentlemen, we will get to the coronavirus, but I want to focus on this issue. JD, where do you disagree with what Doug Basham just said as far as going after Joe Scarborough, calling him a murderer?
We're talking about the specific Joe Scarborough case.
Can you defend Donald Trump's comments?
Do you know the origins of all of that situation, Brian?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
Joe Scarborough had an intern. Her name was Laura Casaitis.
Okay.
He went on Don Imus, just like Donald Trump went on a show and said, grab her by the...
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
He went on Don Imus. Don Imus made a joke about how how Joe would have to kill his intern if he was carrying on
Which
an
was
affair with her,
inappropriate.
and if she was pregnant.
Which was inappropriate.
And
So
Joe Scarborough laughed about it.
So you're correlating. Hold on a second.
And Trump has said that it's a very, very suspicious situation.
Okay. No, that's not all he said.
The problem is there's not a lot of other details to back that up besides the Don Imus interview. Or my issue is why is it okay to not give Joe Scarborough any guff for what he said, laughing literally about that particular situation?
Okay,
why is that not okay?
I'll let Doug answer that, but let me just respond real quickly.
But Donald Trump, when he mentioned grab her by the as an entertainer on a radio show, just like Joe Scarborough did.
I will let Doug answer.
The difference is Joe Scarborough was actually
I get your point.
in Congress at the time.
Let me respond.
Donald Trump was a citizen.
You asked me a question.
Was a regular citizen.
You asked me a question.
Why is it okay? Why is Donald Trump?
Question.
No, I'm not finished with it. Why is Donald Trump held to a higher standard when he wasn't even the president of the United States? But at the time when he was attacked for what he said, grab her by the you know what.
Okay, I'm focusing on what we're talking.
He was not the president.
You got to let me answer your question now.
And Joe Scarborough was.
You got to let me answer. You asked me
a congressperson when he laughed about
you asked
the death of an intern.
You asked me 5 minutes ago. Let me answer your question. First of all, right now, at this very moment, Donald Trump is the president of the United States.
You're right.
Right now, at this very moment.
You're right.
Joe Scarborough is a talk show host on a TV show. We have to hold the president at a much higher accountability. Now, let's just hold on. I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. Let me finish. Okay? Regardless of what Joe Scarborough did, he could be the worst person on the planet. He could lie every day on the show, which, by the way, I don't think he is. But let's just say hypothetically, he is the worst person on the planet. He was horrible when he was a politician. He did horrible things. That still is not a defense for the president of the United States to accuse somebody of murder with zero evidence to back it up for political gain. Hold on a second. I'm not done yet.
His evidence is the interview that Scarborough did with Imus.
I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet.
The accusations for sexual assault against Donald Trump
I'm not done
based on the interview that he did back before he was president.
I'm not done
yet. That's the whole point I'm trying to make.
Okay, can I finish my point before you interrupted me?
That's the evidence.
No, here's the evidence. You're 100% wrong. There was a police report. The police report, there was an investigation. Who gives a flying F about Don Imus, what was said on his stupid show, because he was a racist, and I don't care what Don Imus or Joe Scarborough said on a radio show. Here's what I do care about. The investigation. There was a police report, and in that police report, in that investigation, they ruled it accidental. There's no other evidence. That's it. That's where the bar stops. That's where it stops. Right. And the president, hold on.
And that is, and the president is saying that police report wasn't good enough.
And that's okay, yeah. Because he knows.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that he knows, Brian. What do you mean? Give me a break. So I have to listen to you for 2.5 minutes.
How do you defend this?
And then you say, I'm explaining to you.
Well, you can listen to
my issue with the entire situation is that what Donald Trump said when he wasn't president of the United States about grabbed by the you-know-what,
that has nothing to do with this.
Is used as
that
evidence.
Has nothing to do with
but what are you talking about? What Joe Scarborough's, how many times was that
nothing to do with
that used against Donald Trump for not respecting women?
That has nothing to do with this.
For openly admitting to sexually assaulting women.
What does that have to do with this?
It's the exact same situation. But the difference is Joe Scarborough was actually in Congress when this took place.
So we have
Donald Trump was not the president of the United States, nor was he an elected official when that particular conversation on that radio show took place.
I don't want to get into this debate with you.
I think there was a double standard there, Doug, and that's fine. Let's talk about it.
Okay, so Doug, JD's driving me absolutely nuts. I have a fake gun that I'm gonna pull the trigger and put it in my head right now.
That's totally fair.
Doug, what do you say to what JD is saying right now? Because I'm shocked.
The whole thing is,
how are you shocked?
We're not talking about what Donald Trump said before he became president or Joe Scarborough before he joined MSNBC. We're talking about what Donald tweeted 3 days ago when he was the president of the United States. Everything else is irrelevant.
Right, and I understand that.
A former congressman of murder as the president of the United States 3 days ago on the weekend, and since then as well. That's the issue. Not what either
he has not directly accused him. Okay.
Well, Joe Scarborough brought it up. No, he didn't. I listened to the tape. It was Imus that brought it up.
Okay. He has not directly accused him of murder. He has said that this needs to be looked into because it is a shady, suspicious situation.
Directly, or whether he's alluding to it or inferring, those are differences without distinction. He is comporting himself as unpresidential as any president we've had because of who and what he is. He is a textbook sociopath. He cares only for himself. He doesn't care how much he debases and disgraces the presidency in this country. And if he had 1 ounce of decency in his body, he would resign. He's in over his head. We have just a massive death count from a coronavirus that he refused to react to.
All right, Doug. I'm going to break this since we're in the coronavirus conversation. How many deaths have taken place in nursing homes of the 100,000 deaths, Doug?
JD?
Just give me an answer. Okay. It's between 40 and 60,000. If those you're right.
If we have so many of them here, why did our unemployment rise to historic levels when other countries didn't? It's because their leaders reacted promptly and swiftly.
So you're saying that we shouldn't have had the entire country locked down?
He's still riding that today. When you ask him what he did between the ban and March 16th and the guidelines, I did a ban.
Can I just say let me just say one other quick point, and then you guys can continue this conversation. This is why I say Donald Trump is a scumbag and a horrible human being, and I stand by it. You have the widow husband, okay, that goes on, writes a letter pleading with the president, pleading for Twitter to take down the comments, asking the president because it's hurting his family. And why are you laughing? Why is that funny?
Because I don't think that's why.
So hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let's go with this for a second.
We're not going to go with anything.
Well, you just laughed. What's funny about that?
There's a lot.
The man is.
I think there's
family suffering.
One family is suffering, and now Donald Trump's tweets are being fact checked by Twitter, by CNN, CNN and the Washington Post.
What I'm talking
the president of the United States in an election year is being fact checked on Twitter. None. Joe Biden isn't. Okay. No other politician is. Right. No other news reporter is. No other journalist is. Only the president of the United States is by two outlets that have clear personal vendettas and bias and are biased against him. Brian,
let's let Doug respond.
Obviously, there's a rhyme and reason to
let Doug respond. He's our guest. Go ahead, Doug.
JD, it's not bias. It's the fact that in 3.5 years he has garnered a documented, searchable database of over 18,000 lies. He is a chronic, pathological, serial liar. Twitter should have been doing this for 3.5 years. He is the biggest prevaricator of fake news this country has ever seen.
Okay.
It's a phrase that he exemplifies.
I wanted to.
Should be fact checked because he
I agree. I wanted to.
What about Adam Schiff when he was claiming to have evidence that Donald Trump, and there was a lot of other politicians and a lot of other journalists and reporters that listen, Doug. Hey, Doug, I have no problem with fact checking, but make it universal. Don't choose one person and then choose CNN and Washington Post during an election year, which is clear censorship to do that. And you know what Twitter is on the way of doing? They're on the way of being a publisher. They're not going to be a platform. They're going to be a publisher, and when they're a publisher, they will be open to lawsuits.
So I tried to.
That is a major deal. Again, go ahead. What about Adam?
Right.
No, again. What about Adam Schiff?
Okay, Doug, go ahead. Go ahead, Doug.
How can you defend a chronic, habitual, pathological serial liar and call it censorship? They're not deleting his tweet. They're putting something underneath.
I want to add something because I was in.
On voting by mail.
I want to add something because I didn't get to finish my statement because JD interrupted me, but that's okay.
I interrupted
that's fine.
you.
I want to finish my statement. So you have, because you were laughing.
I am extremely apologetic for interrupting you.
So, well, you should be apologetic to the family. And let me make my point, please, in 45 seconds. This man is hurting. His family is hurting. I'm talking about the widower, the husband, and his family. They're hurting. He lost his wife. He writes a letter. And as I'm describing this, you were laughing, which I find extremely troubling. But let me finish before you interrupt me again. Okay? He writes this letter, pleading with the president to stop, wanting those tweets to go down. Why? Because it's hurting him and his family, and I can understand why. And you can continue to laugh if you'd like. You can do that. What does the president decide to do? Emotions. And he doubles down and he tweets about it again. That is the definition of a scumbag. You have a family that is suffering. You have the husband to the late woman who died. And he's putting out conspiracy theories, and the husband is pleading with the president to stop, and he continues to do it. You could come up with every excuse in the world. It was wrong, it was disgusting, and the president is a scumbag.
And again, Brad, what I'm saying is why the interview that Donald Trump had where he mentioned grab her by the you-know-what.
Has nothing to do with
why it does. It doesn't. Yes, it does. You just because you can't understand the correlation. That's
I can call out the president.
I don't think you understand what I'm trying to say here.
No, you're the one who's laughing.
Why is what Donald Trump says used as evidence against him, but what Joe Scarborough says on Don Imus is not used as evidence against him.
Okay, I'll make
evidence.
I'll make it very clear for you.
Yeah, you think Donald Trump? How many times?
You just asked me a question. No, you just asked me a question. Now let me answer it. That's what we do on this show. Let me be very clear to you. If Joe Scarborough was laughing about a woman's death, and if Don Imus, who was a scumbag, was laughing about the death,
Don Imus has nothing. Don Imus being a scumbag has nothing to do with Joe Scarborough saying, "What are you going to do?" and laughing about his former intern dying.
Let me know when I can talk for
nothing. Not a thing.
Let me know when I can talk for 10 seconds without you interrupting me. Thank you. What I was going to say was, it's wrong. If he did it years ago, it's wrong. But guess what? That doesn't make okay. All right. Since you're not going to let me talk, we'll just go back to Doug. JD likes to laugh at families that are mourning because of a death.
I'm not laughing.
It's very classy.
I'm not laughing at families for mourning because of a death. And stop trying to turn it into a victim situation.
Go ahead, Doug.
I just think it's very interesting that this particular situation has turned into one person in the country being fact checked. On Twitter by CNN and the Washington Post.
All right.
Not Fox News.
Find that interesting and not
because I
man is a chronic pathological,
and so are a lot of people on Twitter. Adam Schiff claimed he had evidence for months about Donald Trump, and he had nothing. How many different politicians claim they had? Here's something, Doug. The person that is in charge of site integrity for Twitter has actually called Trump a Nazi on multiple occasions. Doug, what about that? Why is that okay? Okay, are you in charge of site integrity for Twitter? No, you're not, Doug. That has nothing to do with anything. What I'm saying is this is a totally biased, hypocritical situation. If you want to fact check politicians, that's totally fine, but do it universally. Do it for every single politician, and have a tab where if Donald Trump has an opinion, he clicks on the opinion tab, and it's not fact checked. But when he wants to present a fact, he clicks on the fact tab, and it's fact checked. But not just Trump. Every single politician, every single journalist, every single celebrity, every single person with a major platform who can make a difference should be fact checked. What Twitter has done. What Twitter has done is they are opening themselves up to lawsuits from so many different angles by polling this situation because it is censorship. Twitter is supposed to be a neutral platform, and this is changing that. A neutral platform with reasonable guidelines.
Okay.
Check for the facts on voting by mail. How is that censorship? And plus, this whole thing is not a free speech First Amendment issue. That the First Amendment pertains to government restricting your freedom of speech. Twitter is a private company. They can do whatever they want. They kick people off all the time. The fact that they haven't kicked Donald Trump off is a damning indictment of them, because he has broken more of their rules and regulations than any other tweeter in the world. The fact that it took him this long is shameful.
They're not going to kick Donald Trump off, and the reason that they haven't is because you look at, CNN, Fox News, a lot of these major outlets, they use his tweets and they talk about them. So they give, Donald Trump actually makes Twitter a lot of money. And again, I don't have a problem with fact-checking the president, but you better fact-check everybody else, including Joe Biden, including his opponents, including anyone who claims that what they're saying is legitimate, is legitimately news. And then you better have 5 or 10 different outlets that are reinforcing those fact checks. It can't be someone who has a clear bias against one person, and he is the only person who is being fact-checked. That's the issue, Doug. It is hypocrisy. And Donald Trump didn't.
It took them 3.5 years to.
I'm not talking about Twitter. I'm saying CNN and the Washington Post have a clear bias and a vendetta against Donald Trump, and those are the two sources that are being chosen to fact check his tweets.
It's called reporting, not bias.
The reporting is taken out of context on a lot of different situations. That's the truth, and so do I. Of course it is. Okay, Mika Brzezinski accuses Donald Trump of killing 100,000 people in the United States with the coronavirus, but she doesn't take into account the fact that Governor Cuomo, Governor Wolf, Governor Murphy, and Governor Whitmer all forced their nursing homes to take patients who were sick with the coronavirus.
All right, well, let me say
without any testing.
Understood. Let me just make
Doug,
a
let me ask
point.
about this. What about the 20-year-old guy who just happened to be in a nursing home in Michigan who beat the absolute crap out of a 75-year-old roommate for some reason? Because you know why he was there? Because he had the coronavirus. Why in the hell did the governor of Michigan take a 20-year-old guy with the coronavirus and put him in a nursing home where people were already sick? And how in the hell is that on? And how in the hell is that on Donald Trump? How are those 40,000 deaths on Donald Trump?
Doug, you haven't had ample time to answer any of JD's questions. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask you if you could hold over and stay to the next break. Will you be able to do that, Doug?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
My calendar is clear.
Great. Okay, so here's the thank you, Doug. I appreciate it. And we'll give you ample time. But here's what I want to say. The idea that we should be holding Mika Brzezinski to the same level of accountability as to the President of the United States is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard in my life. The president is the leader of the free world. He should be held to the highest standard. Now, if you don't like certain members of the media, you don't like Mika Brzezinski, or you don't like somebody on CNN, fine. You want to call them out for it, fine. But to suggest that they should be held to the same standard, the same fact-check standard, as you call it, as the President of the United States, the leader of the free world, is ludicrous and ridiculous. We will talk about this more on the other side. If you want to give us a buzz, maybe we'll try to squeeze in a few phone calls as well. The number to call is 702-257-5396. We're obviously talking about this false narrative that Donald Trump calling Joe Scarborough a murderer, and then we're talking about Twitter. Should those tweets be taken down? We will take your calls at 702-257-5396. We are going to allow Doug Basham. Doug Basham, thankfully, is going to be sticking around, so we will hold him over on the other side of the break as well. We'll take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Tech right here on KDWN.
Every home has a to-do list. That leaky drain, bare spots on the lawn, repainting the trim. To finally get that to-do list done, call in a pro.
Was it?
Over the past 20 years, HomeAdvisor has connected over 100 million homeowners
It was
with
fiery?
trusted local pros.
Yeah,
During
Doug
these times,
kind of
we're
got
making it
put
easier
into
than ever.
I didn't
for
get too
great pros to
into
join the
like I
HomeAdvisor
didn't
network. For a
distort
limited
that.
time, home service businesses can get $200 in free advertising.
Well,
Visit
that's part of how I do
HomeAdvisor.com/offer for details. That's HomeAdvisor.com/offer.
The world needs more heroes, more action-oriented do-gooders, more here's how I connect right-hand side. The world of sarcoma is no different. And if you're thinking, what is sarcoma? We're glad you're listening. Sarcoma is a rare cancer of the body, soft tissue, and bone, and this cancer affects tens of thousands of Americans yearly. The Sarcoma Foundation of America partners with like-minded heroes to advocate for sarcoma patients through funded research and widespread awareness efforts. Learn how you can join forces at curesarcoma.org.
Are you looking for smoke-free housing? Visit gethealthyclarkcounty.org for a list of 50,000 smoke-free units available.
Special report, coronavirus update. The pandemic has some members of Congress fearful of their own exposure. When they're in session, a proposal for proxy voting to allow many to remain home has led to a GOP lawsuit. News correspondent Linda Kenyon.
Kevin McCarthy is leading the lawsuit against House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and House Democrats, saying allowing proxy voting is just the start of a slippery slope.
I don't know. I don't want to take Ron S. He calls on the back line, thinks he's entitled to be on the air.
Under proxy voting, a member can cast a vote on behalf of up to 10 fellow members of Congress. Those members must provide written instructions on how they want their votes to be cast.
Boeing is cutting 12,000 jobs in the U.S. because of the pandemic. Walt Disney hopes to put people back to work, starting with a phased reopening that would begin on July 11th. I'm Mike Morris.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Leatherman Road Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by DuckDuckGo Privacy. Slowing for an accident on the 95 northbound near Eastern Avenue with heavy traffic from Charleston. This crash is blocking the center lane. Merge left, merge right to get by. And on the other side of the freeway, 95 southbound at Eastern, another accident. This one's blocking the right lane and backing traffic up to the Spaghetti Bowl. On the surface streets, a crash reported Tropicana and Cobalt Lane. Use Flamingo as an alternate to get around the slow window. Tired of being tracked online? DuckDuckGo can help. They help millions of people like you take control of their personal information online. DuckDuckGo. Privacy simplified. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
Your wife just told me she can't
For
pick you
Marie,
up.
taking care of her siblings isn't just a choice. It's her responsibility. Every day, Leah and Johnny rely on Marie's help just to survive. Marie's greatest fear is what would happen to them if something happened to her. Like Leah and Johnny, most adults with intellectual disabilities need unique care. Nearly 424,000 of them are still waiting. Help more families like Marie's. Give the
Trump
gift
spent
of
part of this
opportunity.
Memorial Day weekend
Please
using
give
his
to
Twitter
Opportunity Village
to
at
promote personal
AVGift.org.
attacks on Dems.
I'm attorney Paul Powell. If you mention an accident, who do you call? The funny lawyer?
Retweeting posts that took
Angry,
aim
aggressive
at
lawyer?
former Georgia
The
governor
lawyer that your mom's
candidate
brother's friend's
Stacey
cousin
Abrams.
recommends. Now, call me instead. I'm the guy the
And
insurance
another one
companies
on
don't
Hillary
want you to
Clinton
call.
calling her a
Really,
skank.
they really don't. I can help you, and I won't take more money than you at the end of your case. Check it out.
If you're
Thing
tired
about
of
Doug
greedy
is that
lawyers,
he's so
call
well
728-5500
read that you can say, "What's this all
or go
about,
to
Doug?"
paulpowell.com.
I really
He
can
knows.
help.
You know, he's up on all the stuff that we've had.
Some
30
restrictions
seconds.
apply.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM.
You're right.
KDON.
You just said it.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, the left, the right, and everywhere in between. That's what we try to do here on this show. We try to have some fun as well. We'll get to some real fun stuff coming up in hour number 3. Maybe not so fun for Jimmy Fallon in a blackface scandal. We have Mark Cohen on. He's the MC for the Comedy Cellar here at the Rio. When are they going to open up? We'll get to that. Some Vegas Golden Knights to talk about. And the Tiger Woods golf match over the weekend was a lot of fun. We'll get to that as well. We still have Doug Basham on the line. Nice enough to stay with us, the only liberal talk show host here in Nevada. Doug, I want to read you the part of the letter that the husband wrote who lost his wife back in 2001 in this accidental death. Was not a murder. In regards to Twitter,
she was also a marathon runner.
He wrote, so what does that have to do with anything? I'm confused. Yeah, she was a marathon runner. You're right.
No, continue.
Oh, okay. So the letter writes, and again, this is the husband who lost his wife, who I feel horrible for. I'm asking you to intervene in this instance because the President of the United States has taken something that does not belong to him, the memory of my dead wife, and perverted it for perceived political gain. I would ask that you consider Lori's niece and 2 nephews who will eventually come across this filth in the future. They have never met their aunt, and it pains me to think they would ever have to learn about her this way. My wife deserves better. After that, the president also tweeted out something else with the conspiracy theory that Joe Scarborough was a murderer. Doug, your response to that?
Well, It was a very, very touching letter, and when Trump was asked about it in his briefing yesterday, he just blew right past it and continued on with his conspiracy talk. I mean, I don't see how anybody can defend this guy. I mean, mocking Pelosi's teeth, calling another Democratic politician Shamu the whale, mocking Biden for wearing a mask, calling it a Democratic congressman and a former Marine Corps vet a fraud. I mean, this is just unacceptable behavior. We have a child king. He is so unfit for this job and so in over his head. I just don't see how anybody can defend him anymore.
I want to talk a little bit about the mask.
So you think he's like King Tut without the deformities?
Well, I want to talk a little bit about the mask situation now, Doug. Let's talk a little bit about that because, as you know, Joe Biden was out and he was wearing a mask, he and his wife. He is going by the same guidelines that Trump's administration has said he should go by, and yet Donald Trump attacked him for that, for wearing a mask. As you know, Donald Trump hasn't always been wearing a mask. In fact, he's rarely ever seen wearing a mask. Pence has had some issues with the whole mask situation. Here we have Joe Biden, who's actually doing what he's supposed to be doing according to the CDC, according to social distancing, but yet the president is mocking him for doing the right thing. Doug, what do you say to that?
Well, and not only that, he mocked the Associated Press reporter Jeff Mason yesterday. He said, "Can you take off your mask? I can't hear it." And Mason said, "No, I'll just speak louder." And Trump says, "Oh, you want to be politically correct." I mean, he is going against his own CDC guidelines and politicizing this and making it a culture war. The CDC advises to wear a mask. Oh, you're just being politically correct. It is unconscionable. He is unhinged. He is unfit. And it just floors me that people continue to defend him by engaging in whataboutism and say, well, what about what Joe Scarborough said? Yeah, what Scarborough said was wrong. It doesn't change one iota what Trump tweeted over the weekend and since then.
Okay, so the tweet that we've been talking about, Donald Trump made this tweet 3 days ago. Since you read the letter, I'm going to read this tweet. A lot of interest in this story about psycho Joe Scarborough. So a young marathon runner just happened to faint in his office, hit her head on his desk, and die. I would think there is a lot more to this story than that, ? An affair, ? What about the so-called investigator? ? Read story. And this was based on, after a tweet by Thomas Paine said evidence shows foul play likely in Scarborough's AIDS suspicious death.
Who said there was foul play?
Thomas Paine.
Who's Thomas Paine?
Thomas Paine is with the TruePundit.com. So
he's a writer. So he has nothing to do with law enforcement or the investigation.
Again,
I don't give a crap what that guy says.
But what did Donald Trump say there that was so over the top?
He's alluding to the fact that it was foul play.
What did he say though? You are spinning his intention.
Oh, really? I'm spinning? Well, why don't you tell us?
No, read it.
What is he saying? No, I heard what you said.
Okay, yeah.
What do you think?
What did he say that makes him such an abhorrent sociopath?
What is he trying to say? I'll let Doug answer that.
No, seriously.
It's a ridiculous question.
Doug, please answer that particular question. What did he say there that was so ridiculous, over the top, that
we get your question.
In your personal opinion?
Go ahead, Doug.
Okay, my response is, firstly, let me preface my response
by
saying the fact that you would actually ask that question concerns me.
Oh, okay,
I mean,
all right.
The depths to which some people will sink to defend Trump.
No, I'm just asking. I'm asking your opinion, and now
you gotta let him answer. No, you don't like his answer. That's fine, but you gotta let him answer. All right, Doug, start over. You were interrupted. Go ahead.
Well, I wanted to preface my response by saying the fact that JD can even ask that question. What did he say in his?
Okay, so you're getting pious. I understand. Fine. Let's lose the pious and answer the question.
Well, that's not pious.
It is very pious. It's holier than thou. I'm just asking you a question, Doug. You can answer it. You can answer it. You don't have to. It's up to you.
He's trying to answer it, and you're interrupting him for the second time.
He's trying to make me look like I'm this holy human being for simply asking the question.
You don't like
and
it.
I don't appreciate that.
Well,
so again, let's. Yeah, I did notice that. Let's lose the pious attitude and just answer the question. I asked you a question. Answer it.
So it's Doug's pious attitude you have, but no pious attitude when it comes to the president. That gives you a lot of credibility.
I'm simply asking Doug what is so wrong, because it looks to me like Donald Trump put together a hypothetical situation.
Let's let Doug answer
and tweeted it out.
For the third time, Doug, start over, and hopefully, go ahead.
He is perpetuating unfounded, baseless conspiracy theories to throw red meat to his base and create chaos and disruption. This is not how a president is supposed to behave. He is supposed to be the president of every American in this country. He isn't. He plays only to his base. And he doesn't care what he has to say in order to rile them up, including debunked conspiracy theories that are causing pain for the families involved. He doesn't care about them. He only, what can I do to keep these rubes voting for me? I know. Let's hit on the Joe Scarborough thing. Yeah, that'll work.
It looks to me like he is asking, or he is basically recommending that an investigation be reopened into this particular case. No, that's exactly what happened here. Based on what I'm reading in this tweet, he is making up a hypothetical, and he's saying, well, in my opinion, I think there should be an investigation opened up.
And do you think that's okay?
And again, this didn't just come from nowhere, Doug.
No, he's not. He is perpetuating a conspiracy theory. We don't need Alex Jones in the White House.
I don't think this is something that Alex Jones would do, Doug. First of all, and okay, fine. And
wait, what are you talking about?
Okay,
hold on a second.
All right.
Hold on a second. No. Hold on. Hold on a second.
No. Alex Jones would be much more. What do you mean? No, I'm saying no. I'm not going to hold on.
Alex Jones said that a school shooting didn't happen in Connecticut.
Right. Alex Jones would be much more over the top than Donald Trump was not over the top there. He said this is
not over the top.
Is
a conspiracy theory calling a TV personality a murderer over a death that happened in 2001.
He is saying,
don't think that's over the top.
Let's look into this situation.
And why would he do that?
Here's the details as to why. It doesn't make a difference as to why.
Go ahead, Doug. Yes, it does. Go ahead, Doug.
Should hold Donald Trump to a higher standard than Alex Jones.
And I'm not suggesting that we shouldn't at all.
Yeah, but you're downplaying what Trump is saying by saying
Alex
Jones would have gone further. I mean, how far does Trump have to go before you start condemning him for the unfit person he is?
Alex Jones would go out of his way and say that Joe Scarborough probably murdered this person.
Listen, it's very simple. Donald Trump
is saying this is what took place.
Right.
Here's a couple of situations,
he knows what
and let's look into it.
Well, here's the thing.
What I'm saying is this reaction is extremely over the top. And again, it's not like Joe Scarborough
over the top.
It's not like Joe Scarborough didn't go on a show and laugh about it when Don Imus brought up the situation.
Nothing to do with
it does because every time Trump was on radio before he was president of the United States, that is being used. No, it's not.
What about what he did here?
What about it?
Here's the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen.
It is two very similar situations.
Okay,
but on one side, it's evidence against Donald Trump. On the other side, it's conspiracy theory against Joe Scarborough.
Okay, for the record,
and to me, that's hypocritical. That's the conversation right now, Brian.
Okay, let me talk. Well, this conversation is very troubling. But let me talk now.
You're so
there was something called. Yeah, I am.
Now I'm
laughed at a Mormon family.
Now I'm dealing with two pious individuals because I was
calling you out for being ridiculous.
I was so over the top in simply asking the question to Doug as to why he feels the way he feels.
First of all, it's not pious for calling somebody.
Because I don't think the way that he thinks.
Can I please talk for 5 seconds?
And since I don't think like you guys think, I'm a terrible human.
Let me know when you're done with your diatribe.
I'm absolutely done.
So you'll be quiet for 10 seconds? That's all. Let's see if we can get past 10 seconds.
I'm totally finished.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Here's the facts. I know you don't like to deal in facts. Here's the facts.
Oh, I definitely deal in facts.
So have a listen for 30 seconds before interrupting me in your ridiculous rage.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not raging.
There was an investigation. Actual police officers, not somebody in the media and you're reading some stupid article. There were actually police officers and professionals that investigated her death. That's number one. Now, what did they find in her death? They called it accidental. You know why? Because that's what happened. That's why. This was not a murder. Okay, this was an accidental death, and it is a tragedy. And you have a mourning family who you laughed at earlier. You have a mourning husband and family that is asking the president to stop and asking Twitter to take it down. Not even a good person, any average human being with an average heart, with any empathy in their body. And you could laugh again, because I know you like to laugh at families that are mourning.
I'm laughing at you personally. I'm not laughing at the families that are mourning.
Okay, well, what you've done...
I'm laughing at you personally based on your actions outside of the radio show.
I'm not done yet. Okay. I'm not done yet.
That's fine.
Okay. The bottom line is any average human being. First of all, what are you making? What are you saying? I laugh at people that are dying.
I was just correcting you.
What are you saying?
I was correcting you, Brian.
Okay, so you're laughing at me.
You can continue with your diatribe.
Well, I'm not going to laugh at you, but your opinions in the last 45 minutes are laughable. I'll say it like that. Okay. You have a mourning family. Okay. The husband asking the president to stop, and what does this man decide to do? He decides to tweet about it again. Now, if you're a Trump supporter, fine. If you're a Republican, fine. I don't care. all any decent human being would have to say is, what the president did was wrong. This has nothing to do with what the president has said before he was the president or what Joe Scarborough said on a radio show. What the president did was wrong. You shouldn't call out Joe Scarborough and think he's a murderer when there was an investigation. Not only is he factually wrong, but he's morally wrong. That's all you have to say. And then we can move on to another subject. But instead, you want to defend the president and you want to talk about all these other things, and it's disgusting.
No, I wanted to break down the tweet and why it was. You're
defending it.
Both of you guys. No, I'm not defending it, Brian. Both of you guys are saying that he basically is accusing this guy of murdering this woman, and all he's doing is saying there should be an investigation reopened up. That's what he's saying, and you're totally spinning it. You're totally spinning it.
Why is he doing it?
And Doug and Brian, why do you have a problem with an investigation being opened up?
Because there already was an investigation. Okay. What part of that do you not understand?
And is every single investigation perfect, Brian?
So how do you know this investigation wasn't perfect? Does Donald Trump have inside information?
I'm just asking.
No, and I'm just asking you. There was an investigation.
Did Joe Scarborough did he not go on that radio show and laugh when Don Imus said, "Yeah"?
So because he laughed, that means he's a murderer? You make absolutely no sense.
Well, I mean, I'm saying
because he laughed, does that mean he's a murderer?
If you get your intern pregnant, why don't you just kill her? Yeah. What are you going to do?
So because he laughed,
why is I'm not saying he's a murderer.
So why is that relevant?
I'm saying if an investigation gets reopened up and maybe it's a quick investigation, why do you have a problem with it?
So because the president.
Why do you and Doug have an issue with another investigation being opened up?
I'll explain to you why.
That's all I'm saying.
And I'll answer. No, hold on. You
guys are making it.
You just asked
Donald Trump openly accused this guy of murdering this woman, and that is not what he did. He brought up a hypothetical and recommended. Yeah, do it. That's 3 times. And he recommended that this case be reopened. That's all he did.
Okay, let me know when
you just heard yourself 4 times hypothetically.
Because you're driving me nuts because you asked me a question and you're still talking. You asked me a question and then you keep talking. Okay, we do a radio show. I ask you a question. I'm not going to talk over you when you're trying to answer it. So let me try to answer your question again, if I may. Why do I have a problem with this? Because the president shouldn't be allowed to open up investigations of the people that he doesn't like. The president shouldn't be allowed to reopen investigations, just like he did with Biden, in that phone call, that perfect phone call. Just because you don't like somebody or you don't like what they say about you, that should not give you the right to say we should reopen this investigation, and then you have no problem with them reopening investigation when there's no reason to do so. Doug, go ahead.
I would like to ask JD a question.
What's up, Doug?
What he would say if Joe Biden fired off a tweet accusing Trump of ordering Attorney General Bill Barr to murder Jeffrey Epstein?
Good question. Go ahead, JD.
Why is that a good question?
He's just asking a question.
It's just a question, yeah.
That he murdered him. He's just asking a question.
It's just a question. Alex Jones would have gone further. It's just a question.
Okay, was there ever an investigation into Donald Trump being involved in the murder of Jeffrey Epstein?
No.
There was no relation whatsoever. That is totally different than this situation. No. Well, was Donald Trump ever associated with Jeffrey Epstein on that particular level? Was he in MCC for any extended period of time?
Fired off a tweet that irresponsible and that over the top. The pants wetting on the right would flood cities. But when Donald Trump does it, we reach as low as we can for any excuse. Well, Joe Scarborough laughed. Alex Jones would have said it worse. It doesn't matter.
Again, Doug, I'm not saying that I agree with what he did or what he said. What I'm saying is I'm not going to condemn it. He did not. Just because I'm not going to condemn it, because like I said, I don't think exactly like you guys. You can laugh at me then.
You're not.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So Brian can laugh at me, but I can't laugh. Okay, that's fine. No, again, the issue here is I don't think that Donald Trump openly accused him of murdering this particular woman.
Let me give out the phone number.
He brought up a hypothetical. He mentioned you and Brian presented it as him openly accusing him of this, and that is not what he did.
Exactly.
He did not.
That's exactly what he did.
Show me where he says Joe Scarborough killed this woman. You're right. He did not do that.
Scarborough of murder.
So stop presenting it like he did.
The illusion was the same.
All right, let me open up the phone lines at 702-257-5396. We got Doug Basham on the line, liberal talk show host here at KDWN. Again, that number is 257-5396. Let's go to Joel. Joel, what's going on?
What's up, Joel?
Joel, did we lose you? I think we lost Joel. Who's next? 702-257-5396 is the number to call if you have.
You sound good on that reverb, Brian.
There was a little bit of a reverb there.
You sound great though.
By the way, I think what Doug Basham was trying to say and I don't want to speak for you, Doug, but I think we agree on this, is that just condemn it when something is wrong. For example, the Stephen Horsford situation last week, I condemned his behavior because it was wrong. I'll even go as further as to condemn Don Imus joking about a woman dying, or Joe Scarborough, but that doesn't excuse what Donald Trump did over the weekend. Hold on a second, I'm not done yet.
It's not like Joe Scarborough's wife hasn't been consistently attacking Donald Trump on every single.
Nothing to do with what I'm asking. Nothing to do.
JD, you're making it sound like there's no reason for Trump to be attacked. The guy's a serial liar and he's unfit. He should be attacked.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines at 702-257-5396. Hopefully those lines will work. Let's go to Alex. Alex, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Alex?
Hey, good morning, JD. I don't know how in the heck you do this. First thing I want to say about Minnesota, that guy, those guys should be arrested for murder. That was horrific.
Yeah, I agree.
I'll leave it at that. Now, as far as Doug Basham and Brian, I wanted to ask you something. You guys seem to argue all the time. Be very angry when a life is taken. But if I bring up the subject, and JD, please back me up.
He's going to talk about abortion. Watch.
If I bring up the subject of babies being.
What a shocker! All right, get this idiot off the. Get this guy off the line.
Just because you don't agree with him doesn't mean he's an idiot.
This has nothing to do with abortion, sir.
You can disagree.
Zero to do with abortion. This has everything to do with Donald Trump and Donald Trump himself accusing Joe Scarborough of murder, and we're talking about how inappropriate it is for the President of the United States to go on social media, the leader of the free world, and push conspiracy theories. This has nothing, and I mean nothing, to do with the abortion issue. You sound like one of those idiot reporters from OAN. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Brady. Brady, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Brady?
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. You guys did bring up that guy, the black guy who was the male nurse who beat the hell out of the nursing home people. Why haven't you?
No, I brought that up, but I did not mention his race.
I'll tell you what I will bring up.
I don't think it's relevant.
I'll tell you what I will bring up, though, Brady. 6 months ago, we had a bet on the air. It was a $100 bet, and you said that Adam Schiff would be in jail within 6 months. It was a $100 verbal bet that we both agreed on. You lose on June 1st. I don't think Adam Schiff will be in jail by June 1st, so I expect a $100 check made out to me, to Beasley Broadcasting, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do with that check. I'm going to donate it to the Joe Biden campaign. What do you think about that, you doofus? Oh, Doug, you see what I have to deal with? It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I can appreciate that.
For what it's worth, I've made on-air bets with Brady in the past too, and won, and I have yet to collect on them as well.
What a shocker!
You can't welch, Brady. You can't welch on a bet.
All right, let's go back to the phone lines at 702-257.
I lost the bet too to Brian.
Let's go back to the phone lines at 702-257-5396. Let's go to Greg. Greg, you're next. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Greg?
Not a lot. The President of the United States is insinuating that Joe Scarborough murdered somebody. So, right there, that's crazy.
Yeah, you're right. I agree.
Okay. Well,
and it's so simple.
What are we talking
when you put
about
it in those simplistic terms. It's like, why can't everybody see it for what it is? It's not.
I know.
Here's the reason, Greg. I think because there are people out there that want to defend Trump till the very end. And that's the issue that we're facing here. There are some Trump supporters that have a moral compass that can say, you know what he did was wrong. He shouldn't have done it. It needs to stop. And then there are others that will defend at no odds, at no end. And some of those people call themselves really good evangelical Christians too. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Dave. Dave, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Dave?
Hey, just wanted to kind of touch base on a couple of things. One, Brian, you've always believed in true justice, right?
Absolutely.
Justice for all, right?
Absolutely.
Then what would have happened if that video would not have come out down in Georgia? Those two guys would have got away, and they were investigated, and they were set free. Couldn't the same thing be happening with Scarborough?
So you're saying because there wasn't a camera?
That's an interesting point.
So you're saying, first of all, this case has nothing to do with race. Let's just start
Dave,
there.
I like where you're going with this one.
If I can answer the question. So you're saying because there wasn't a camera in the room showing somebody of accidentally dying, then you're saying it probably was murder? Is that your statement? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, though, that had that video not come out.
Uh-huh.
These guys did this, what did you say, 2 months, 3 months?
Yep.
And they were it was supposedly investigated. It was supposedly.
All right, so let's go with that. So I get your question. So let's go with that. All right.
Didn't happen the same way.
Yep. So let's go with that.
Was the same.
Sure. So let's go with that for a second. Let's go with that. So you're saying because of what took place in Georgia and because if it wasn't recorded, you're saying because there were no cameras in Joe Scarborough's office, you're okay with the president of the United States basically calling Joe Scarborough a murderer. Is that your defense? Because there weren't cameras in there?
What he called him. He said he
He's insinuating. I know. You know exactly what he's doing. He doesn't like Joe Scarborough. Joe Scarborough attacks Trump on a regular basis. It's a political rival. You absolutely know why Trump is doing it. He made it personal. So for the record, let Doug go ahead.
Murder. If he's asking for an investigation to be reopened, what is he accusing him of?
He just wants to investigate it. And it does seem kind of strange that a marathon runner would just faint and hit her head. That does seem kind of strange.
Yeah. What's strange is you're defending Donald Trump's behavior. Quite frankly, sir, that's what's strange, but I'm not surprised. 702-257.
We can add that to the list of Alex would have said it worse and Scarborough laughed. Now we can add there was no camera.
All right, I agree with you. Let's take one other call here. Let's go to Sophia. Yeah. Sophia, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Yeah, what's up, Sophia?
Oh, just listening to the show.
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yes, I just want to tell those two themselves.
Say that again, Sophia. Your phone kind of cut out there.
What's up?
All right, I think we lost Sophia. She's got a bad phone. Maybe it was an Obama phone. I'm not so sure about that. Doug, I appreciate the call, Sophia. We can't take any more calls because I think we're up against a hard break here in a couple minutes. But, Doug, the bottom line here is this. I don't know what the president has to do. I mean, if he accuses Joe Biden of being a child molester, I guess Republicans would defend that as well. Would they, Doug?
Of course they would.
I mean, I don't know.
It's not like Joe Biden hasn't sniffed the hair of about 12 women under the age of 10 that aren't his.
So now Joe Biden's a child molester.
I mean,
too.
public. No, yep. I'm not saying his. Am I saying he's a child molester?
Well, you're defending it.
I'm just saying there is something. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not. Again, you think I'm defending it? No, I'm bringing up reasons as to why someone could think that.
So here's why.
I don't think you understand what defense actually means, Brian.
I don't.
I am saying.
I do actually.
No, that would be okay.
And the entire,
that would be like me saying, "Hey, Jad, just Joe Biden is a child molester, and here is why."
Right, well,
that would be defending.
Okay,
all I'm saying is there's a couple situations where Joe Biden could. I mean, it's possible that someone could think that he's a child molester based on what they've seen. Yes,
like the president.
And he's called Creepy Joe for a reason.
So here's what I do know.
Again, he does smell women's hair that are not his relatives, that are under the age of, or that are prepubescent.
Right, and the president has
not a lot of people have done that publicly.
And the president,
most people who do that publicly are probably considered.
And the president had unprotected sex with a porn star 2 months after his wife had a child. Not a lot of people do that either. So don't give me that crap. What I do know is the last.
Now that is whataboutism, Brian.
I'd be willing to bet that most pedophiles don't commit their crimes when they know they're on camera.
Yeah, that's also a good point. And I want to add something.
That's a really great
point. As far as defense, in the last hour, you have not condemned the Donald Trump tweets, and that's all we have to say about that as far as defense. I do know what the definition of defense is, and that's what you've done the last hour. But Doug, quickly, we only got about a minute to go before break. Preview your show on Saturday, 2 to 4 p.m. on KDON.
Well, I'm definitely going to deal with Trump's Monday, or I should say weekend Twitter meltdown. We'll probably touch on his press conference from yesterday, and I want to do a little bit on Kayleigh McEnany and all her lies and whataboutism.
I like it. There's plenty of it.
Kayleigh has done an outstanding job as press secretary.
She's a very good liar.
She's much better than Sarah Sanders, and she's much better than the last one.
Boy, that's a low bar.
No, that's not a low bar. Brian, she would tear you apart in a conversation.
We got to go.
If we got her on the show, she would tear you to pieces.
Well, we got to take a break. Doug, thanks for coming on as always, my friend. I appreciate you.
Hey, Joe, really enjoyed it. Absolutely.
All right. As far as her tearing me apart, I guess if you lie, if you consider that tearing.
We'll just get her on the show, Stein.
All right. We got to take a break. Yeah, I'm sure that'll happen.
No problem. I'll get her on tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll happen. Get Michael Jordan on while you're at it, too. Coming up next, Jimmy Fallon in a blackface.
Had her on.
Jimmy Fallon in a blackface scandal. We'll get to that coming up next. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on KDWN.
As concerns about the coronavirus
Actually, I do. Yeah, steps being taken there to reopen society.
Join Ralph Russo and the AP's global team of journalists as they keep you up to date with the latest news on COVID-19.
The whole map of red and green zones based on how much the virus has spread in your region.
Listen and subscribe to Ground Game free on Apple Podcasts or wherever you enjoy audio.
I've always wanted to learn another language, so I decided to give Babbel a try, and I really like the teaching method of the app. I started with the beginner lesson on Babbel. Soon you're putting words into a conversation. Each lesson takes about 10 to 15 minutes, and they're all really different, which keeps things interesting. I can't wait to use my Spanish skills in real life. Dos cervezas, por favor.
Now try Babbel free. Just go to Babbel.com or download the Babbel app. That's BABBEL.com.
Your home for Sean Hannity, KDWN Las Vegas, KKLZ HD2 Las Vegas, a Beasley Media Group station.
Special report coronavirus update. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says his meeting with the president today was about supercharging the economy with infrastructure projects and making sure to support all states. Some people who've not had the virus may nonetheless have the T cells needed to fight it off.
T cells, they're an important part of our immune system. They help develop antibodies when we're infected by a virus and provide immunity to a second infection, meaning these T cells can kill a virus. The World Health Organization's Dr. Mike Ryan says recent studies show T cells in some people who've never had COVID-19 still recognize the virus. So the possible thinking is if you've been infected by another coronavirus like a cold, you could develop some immune response to COVID-19.
The jury is still very much out on that.
But it does, he says, give some hope, especially in long-term vaccine immunity. I'm Jim Roop.
Boeing is cutting 12,000 U.S. jobs because of the pandemic. I'm Mike Moss.
It's time to check the roads.
From the Lerner and Rowe Traffic Studio.
This report sponsored by D.R. Horton, slowing for the accident 95 northbound near Eastern Avenue with heavy traffic from Charleston. This is blocking the center lane. Stay right, stay left to get by. Also a crash on 95 southbound at Eastern Avenue blocking the right lane. And an accident reported 95 northbound north of Summerlin Parkway, also blocking the right lane. Expect delays merge to the left. D.R. Horton's new home community Alpha Point, now open in North Las Vegas. Visit drhorton.com to schedule a private in-person or video tour today. D.R. Horton, America's builder and equal housing opportunity builder. I'm John Michaels from the KDON Traffic Center.
It's open enrollment season, and Medishare is the Christian healthcare sharing ministry that saves most families about $500 a month. Google Medishare and see if it's a fit for you. Medishare, healthcare you can believe in.
Parents, you always say you want what's best for your children. If that's the case, then you should be bringing your kid to Infinity, the Math Institute, where every student earns an A or B in math. Our results are proven, and they are amazing. The best tutoring service for the best price. Whether online or in person, small group or one-on-one, you cannot get better results. Great grades will come when your child truly understands the math. From elementary math to calculus, we have the best tutors, the best materials, and the best results. Now offering free parent seminars on how to better help your child, what is Common Core, and more. Find out why parents are bragging and students are enjoying school again by calling 702-768-1777. That's 702-768-1777 or visit themathinstitute.com today. Tell them the Vegas Take sent you, because at Infinity, you don't get more math problems, you get solutions.
Listen to the Texas Corners Bible Church every Saturday night at 11 p.m. and Sunday night at 10 p.m. on 101.5 FM, 720 a.m. KDON.
I'm attorney Paul Powell. If you get hurt in a crash, did you know your lawyer can take more money than you? That's right. You get hurt and the lawyer gets rich. Not very fair, is it? When you hire me, those worries go bye, bye, bye. I promise never to take more money than you, and I put it in writing.
If you're tired of greedy lawyers, call 728-5500 or go to paulpowell.com.
I really can help.
Paul Powell.
More lawyer, less fee.
Some restrictions apply. Sometimes you hear an idea or learn about a company and say, finally, it's about time. That's what I said when I met the team at Homey. With Homey, you get a local real estate expert and everything you expect with a traditional agent. Everything except those high fees and commissions. Homey sellers save $10,000 on average. Finally, you can buy and sell confidently and save thousands in good times and bad. Check out Homey.com or just text JD to 88588 to receive $250 off your listing fee. Homey's got your back.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Satisfaction, simplicity, performance, When it comes to vaping, we know what matters. At Vuse, we've been pioneering vapor technologies since 2013. All of our liquids are blended in the USA, and our vapor products are only sold through reputable retailers and our website. At Vuse, we charge beyond in what matters to you. Vuse, charge beyond. Underage sale prohibited. Website restricted to age 21 and over tobacco consumers.
This is Lorraine Hunt Bono, inviting you to tune in for Breaking Bread with Bono. Join my husband, Dennis Bono, as celebrities share with him their intimate and humorous stories. Saturdays, 5 to 6 p.m., right here on KDARN.
1015 FM, 720 AM, KDARN, the talk of Las Vegas. The opinions of the hosts on KDWN are their own and do not necessarily reflect the views of this station, its management, or Beasley Media Group.
Hello, everyone. This is President Trump, the greatest president in the history of presidents. And the only show I listen to is the top-rated show, Sharp and Shapiro. They are the best.
Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro, broadcasting live on a Wednesday. Back from vacation, baby, rejuvenated, ready to go. And
Still
also,
in your kitchen, though.
We are still in my kitchen, but
Still-
hopefully phase 2 will be back in studio, hopefully sooner than later.
Apologies to anyone who had to hear the guys chopping down the tree with chainsaws.
Yeah, that's true.
Behind us for the last hour and a half.
That is true. That has happened.
I actually appreciate
But hopefully we'll be back in studio soon. But it's certainly good to be back, and we have a lot more to get to here in the third hour of the show. Also, check us out on YouTube. We're broadcasting live. You get to see our very pretty mugs on the Vegas Take YouTube page, and we just recently celebrated 250,000 views on our YouTube page. That's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool thing to brag about a little bit. But I've never been a big Jimmy Fallon fan. I always thought he was a talentless fool. I don't think he's funny. I think he's one of the worst late-night talk show hosts in the history of late-night talk show. I think Tom Green was better than him. I mean, I never found Fallon funny. I never thought he was a good actor. I never thought he was a good comedian. I didn't think he was good on Saturday Night Live. I just think the guy sucks. And he had a chance to get with Nicole Kidman. She came over his house, and he wussed out on that one, too. So, anyway, thought I'd throw that one in there. But there's a new, I guess you could say, scandal, and it involves Jimmy Fallon. He played blackface on an SNL skit. He was trying to do an impersonation of Chris Rock. Now, as you know, there have been some blackface scandals over the last few years, including Governor Ralph Northam. If you remember, a Democrat, he came under fire in early February after a conservative outlet reported a photo of two men, one in blackface, the other wearing a Ku Klux Klan outfit. Now, that's certainly worse than anything that Jimmy Fallon did.
That's much more over the top than having it as part of a skit, Brian.
But going back to this Jimmy Fallon situation, is again, I don't like Jimmy Fallon. I don't think he's talented at all. I don't think he's funny. But I guess, I want to play you a little bit of this audio that we have, and then we could respond to it afterwards. So this is the 2000 skit. So this happened 20 years ago. Wow, I was 20 years old. I wasn't even old enough to drink yet. But this is Jimmy Fallon, an SNL skit back in 2000. Have a listen to this.
Rock, now we're talking. Where is it? Man, oh man, read this book. I've seen Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and guess what? Not a lot of black folks on the show. Right. Not a lot of black folks on the show. You know why? Because black folks don't like to answer questions. Oh, they want to be millionaires, but you got to ask that kind of question like, in 1981, how many grams of crack did Rick James smoke when he recorded Super Freak? Regis, you think the only way to get a brother on the show is to name it Who Wants $50 Cash and a Pair of Pumas?
All right, so I'll give him credit. That was a pretty good impersonation of Chris Rock.
That was actually really good.
I'll give him, he's certainly not that funny on his late night talk show, that's for sure.
He sounded just like Chris Rock there.
So here's my opinion on
I'll give
this.
him credit.
And that was Daryl Hammond playing Regis Philbin.
Yep. So here's my opinion on this whole situation. Do I think Jimmy Fallon is a racist because he did this back in 2000? No. Do I think it was borderline inappropriate based on the times that we're living in, even back in 2000? Yes, I do. Do I think he deserves to be fired over this? No. So my question to you is, and to our listeners, what do you think about this skit that Jimmy Fallon did What do you think about people in general that do the blackface or have done the blackface in the past? There are some people, some celebrities, I think, recently that dressed in blackface for Halloween, for example, and took a little flack for that. What do you think?
And Megyn Kelly was fired because she said that blackface wasn't that big of a deal.
From the same network.
From the exact same network that Jimmy Fallon is on.
Well, again, I'm not a big Megyn Kelly fan either. She apologized
She's
for that.
much more talented than Jimmy Fallon, although that was a great impression.
I think Megyn Kelly is better at her job than Jimmy Fallon is at his. I will agree with you on that. But you're right. Megyn Kelly also took flack for that. And by the way, she acknowledged that she was wrong and she apologized.
And Justin Trudeau had a blackface.
Justin Trudeau is correct. Justin Trudeau also had a little scandal brewing with that as well. So here's my question to the listeners right now. And I'll open up the phone lines at 702-257-5396. What do you think should be the fallout, if any, when it comes to Jimmy Fallon wearing blackface, doing an impersonation of Chris Rock? Do you think that he should be fired? Do you think that he should be suspended? Or do you think nothing should happen at all? I've made my opinion very clear on this. I think it was inappropriate. I don't think he should be fired. He already apologized for it, which I think is good. And I think he should apologize for it again tonight on his show. And I don't think blackface should exist. I don't think people should be doing it.
He's apologizing 20 years later, which always bothers me.
Yes.
When this thing has been out there for 20 years. It aired on Saturday Night Live.
Right.
And did you, by the way, hear the gasps from the audience when he came out in that blackface? Yeah. But yeah, he's apologizing. In 2000, while on SNL, I made a terrible decision to impersonate Chris Rock while in blackface. There was no excuse for this. I'm very sorry for making this unquestionably offensive decision. Thank you all for holding me accountable. Well, and then I'm adding parentheses 20 years later.
Well, he doesn't mean it. He doesn't mean it.
Why didn't he apologize then?
I'm going to tell you right now, he doesn't mean it.
People were gasping.
What about Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, that was inappropriate too.
It took a lot of
but that was part of his. That was part of a movie. That he didn't choose to do that. Someone wrote that particular screenplay,
but he didn't have to do it.
And he happened to be the actor for that screenplay.
But
the character he played was African American.
He knew when he read the script before he accepted the role that he was going to be doing it. So you have to own it. And I do not accept Jimmy Fallon's apology because it's 20 years later. Thank you for holding me accountable. Stein makes a very valid point.
Well, that's one of those apologies that strikes me as, please don't fire me. I need my job. I want my job.
I don't think he's going to get fired. I think it's just more to his fan base, because his fan base is a little more left leaning than than someone else's fan base. But I don't think he is. I don't think he should be worried about losing his job. Although it is interesting the fact that Megyn Kelly on the same network did get canned for just mentioning or for downplaying blackface, and Jimmy Fallon actually did it. But again, this was part of an SNL skit, just like Robert Downey Jr. He was hired to play that role that somebody else wrote.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to open up the phone lines. What do you think about this? Do you think that Jimmy Fallon should be suspended or fired? What do you think about blackface in general? Do you think that it's okay for white people to paint themselves black and impersonate black people? Do you have a problem with that? And if you don't, tell us why. We'll take a quick break. We'll take your phone calls on the other side. Remember to call, 702-257-5396. Again, if you'd like to be a part of the program, 257-5396. Take a break. Be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM 720 AM KDAWN.
Right now, home sweet home has never been sweeter. Our homes are more important than ever, and finding people we trust to take care of them is just as important. For over 20 years, Home Advisor has been connecting homeowners with trusted local plumbers, electricians, roofers, and more. And now we're making it easier than ever for great pros to join the Home Advisor network. For a limited time, home service businesses can get $200 in free advertising. Visit homeadvisor.com/offer200 for details. That's homeadvisor.com/offer200.
You remember when your mom and dad talked about the importance of having term life insurance? I mean, it felt really good knowing the family would have money after something happened. How do you think they felt? They worked their entire life without truly getting the benefit of having term life insurance? MyTermLifeGuy.com. MyTermLifeGuy.com. You don't have to die to receive the benefits. A $1 million policy for a healthy male, non-smoker, below $35 a month. MyTermLifeGuy.com. Sponsored by Gold Coast Insurance Group.
Mark Levin, weekdays 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM 720 AM KDAWN.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. We're talking about blackface. We're talking about the latest blackface scandal that now includes Jimmy Fallon. I've never been a big Jimmy Fallon fan, but back in 2000, a video has surfaced of him impersonating Chris Rock, painting his face black, doing blackface. He recently has apologized for it. Do you think he should be suspended? Do you think he should be fired? Do you think white people should be able to dress as black, paint their faces black and do blackface? Do you have an issue with that? We've had a lot of people in the past that have taken a lot of slack and a lot of heat for doing this. We're taking your phone calls. 702-257-5396. Again, that number, 257-5396. If you want to join the conversation, let's start off with Don. Don, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Don?
Now, as far as Jimmy Fallon, the question was, do I believe that he should be reprimanded or fired? Absolutely not.
Right.
That's simply that's an opinion on mine, and I can elaborate on that. If we can, let's go back years ago to the movie White Chicks.
Right.
Okay. Well, who dressed up as white chicks?
Yep. Well, you're right. Let me add something to that. It's a good point. We had Marlon Wayans on the show, and if you remember, sir, those were the Wayans brothers. We actually had Marlon Wayans on the show a few months ago, and I asked him that very question. I said, in the times that we're living in right now, do you think it'd be appropriate to dress up as white chicks? And he said, yeah, I would have no problem doing it again. Let me be very fair on this issue, and you bring up a good point. I think it is just as inappropriate somebody who is black to dress up as a whiteface. I think it goes both ways. I think we need to be consistent on this. And I think there are many other ways to make people laugh other than this. Clearly, it's offensive to some people. If it's offensive to black people when white people do blackface, then it should be just as offensive when it's the other way around. So I take your point. Point well taken.
I actually thought the White Chicks was a pretty funny movie. I thought it was very comedic.
Go ahead.
At the same time, having a movie come out that was obviously it's a pretty big hit. It was a big hit because, and me being a Caucasian male, I thought it was very, very funny.
I wasn't offended.
No, it was very funny.
Listen, make no mistake about it, sir. I wasn't offended by it. I'm not offended by blackface. I'm not offended by whiteface. I'm just saying if we're going to call out blackface, or if African Americans are going to do that, you make a valid point. I think they also need to call out the other way around.
Well, I think there has to be, for at least for me, and again, I'm not African American, but for me to think it's really an overly offensive thing, there has to be a situation like the Ralph Northam, where you've got the blackface and the Ku Klux Klan, when all that together. But I think just emulating a different race on on an entertainment setting, as long as it isn't totally defamatory towards that race, I have no issue with that whatsoever.
Number to call, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Shannon. Shannon, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Shannon?
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, first time I've called. I've been listening to you guys about 3 months. I just want to come in first and say you guys do a great job, JD, Brian, Chris, man.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Hey, thanks a lot, Shannon.
I'm a black guy myself, man, and personally, I don't have a problem with blackface. It's like I say, the Wayans brothers, they played white chicks. They played two white girls and white chicks, man, and it was a funny little comedy. And what Jimmy Fallon did was kind of, it was funny because he had Chris Rock right on.
Yeah, it was a great impression.
You use it, right? If you use it derogatory, or trying to be offensive towards somebody, I think that's a problem. I think just
I totally agree.
Fun or whatever, it's totally cool, man.
Yeah, I think it's all about the context of how it's used.
And that's fair. I think. Listen, I think I'm with you in this sense. I'm not offended either way. I wasn't offended by White Chicks. I thought it was a very funny movie. I like Marlon Wayans, but I am offended by what Ralph Northam did, and here's why. I'm offended with what he did because he is in a picture with a Klan member. There is nothing. Even if the guy wasn't in the Klan, he was dressed up as a KKK guy. I have a huge problem with that. There is a fine distinction, and I think we'll agree on this. There's a fine distinction between what Jimmy Fallon did, doing a Chris Rock impersonation, and somebody that is dressed up as blackface next to a Klan member. That there's a distinction there.
What if Jimmy Fallon did a really poor Chris Rock impersonation?
That has nothing to do with it.
Blackface.
Nothing to do with it. 702.
Would he not have done the imitation without the blackface? Could he just dressed up like
Yes,
Chris
he
Rock?
could have.
Well,
Yes.
he could have worn a mask, I guess, a Chris Rock mask.
Listen, all I'm trying to say here is the fine line.
Is that okay?
Guys,
Does he sell a Chris Rock mask?
I'm sure they could probably make one.
all I'm saying is
SNL could get hold of it.
there is a fine distinction that we need to distinguish here between Ralph Northam and what he did with a Klan member, dressed up,
exactly,
and what Jimmy Fallon did.
And what about Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai?
The same thing. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Kurt. Kurt, you're next up on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Kurt?
Kurt, are you there, my friend? Did we lose Kurt? We did. Okay, 702-257-5396. Maybe he was putting on his blackface. I don't know. I guess that's possible. I don't know. I guess that's possible. Look, let's be clear here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be very clear here. You know when someone's being racist and when they're not being racist. What Ralph Northam did, I don't care whether he's a Democrat or Republican. I don't care. What he did was racist. Now, why was it racist? I try to make it very clear here. He's standing next to someone dressed up in a Klan outfit. That screams racism. Megyn Kelly was ignorant to the fact that there are some people out there that are offended when someone wears blackface in the wrong situation. She was wrong. She apologized for it. What I don't like is when Jimmy Fallon says how sorry he is 20 years later, when I don't think he's sorry at all.
I would actually argue that Jimmy Fallon should not have apologized at all. He should have said, I did a great impression of Chris Rock. It was part of a skit, and at that particular time, the plan was for me to dress up like Chris Rock, and that's exactly what I did. I wanted to be authentic in the way that I did it. Because again,
sure, he had pressure to apologize.
He was not being racist at all, in my opinion. And you're right. Ralph Northam was clearly being racist. I mean, next to someone who was wearing what symbolizes one of the most racist organizations on the planet Earth, the Ku Klux Klan.
What is going through your mind when you take a picture with someone who is dressed up in a Klan outfit? I don't understand. What is going through your mind when you do something like that? You have to be racist.
He should not be in office, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people that shouldn't be in office. I don't think Donald Trump should be in office either for a lot of different reasons.
If Donald Trump was ever caught in a situation, and I'm on record saying this now, where he was in blackface, standing next to anyone in a Klan outfit, I would say the exact same thing. But he has not been in that situation. So I don't appreciate you comparing Donald Trump to Ralph Northam under those circumstances, because it's not even close to the same thing, Brian.
I would say
you can say he's a racist, you can say he's a Nazi, but Ralph Northam was, and he's still the governor of Virginia, by the way, but Ralph Northam was literally in blackface, standing next to somebody wearing a Ku Klux Klan outfit.
And if you want to compare it to Megyn Kelly, which is probably the better comparison,
Right.
just simply because it's more recent. She was on NBC, the same network where it happened. You could argue there was a lot of things that were leading up to her dismissal, and possibly a big part of it was ratings and some other things that she said that people at NBC found objectionable. I don't know, going back on that situation, that it was just her ignorance on blackface that led to her firing. It was a culmination of things.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right. Well, I would simply point out, and I think it's fair to point this out, by the way, that I believe Donald Trump has done and said some pretty racist things in the past. I mean, he launched his campaign back in 2015 by calling Mexican immigrants rapists while bringing crime and bringing drugs. As a candidate in 2015, he called for a ban on Muslim.
Let me finish. He was referring to MS-13.
Please let me finish. He called for a ban on all Muslims coming into the U.S. Back in 2016, during a Republican debate, he was asked whether 1.6 billion Muslims hate the U.S. Trump said, I mean a lot of them. I mean a lot of them. That's what he said. He also argued back in 2016 about Judge Gonzalo Curiel. Do you remember this? Who was overseeing the Trump University lawsuit. He said he should recuse himself from the case because of his Mexican heritage, even though he was born in the United States. Now, if that's not racism, I don't know what is. I mean, I could go on and on. Back in 2010, there was a huge national controversy over Ground Zero Mosque, a proposal to build a Muslim community center, in Lower Manhattan. And he said, well, somebody's blowing us up. Somebody's blowing up the buildings, and somebody's doing lots of bad stuff. Back in 2011, Trump played a big role in pushing false rumors that Obama wasn't born in this country. And in 2011, he also suggested that Obama wasn't born in the U.S. He argued that maybe Obama wasn't a good enough student to have gotten into Columbia or Harvard Law School.
Are you trying to prove that Donald Trump is a racist? Is that what you're trying to do?
What I'm proving to you right now is that he has a history of making racist remarks. Let's go back to the phone lines at 702-257-5396. Let's go to Arnold. Arnold, you're next on the Vegas Take.
Hey, what's up, Arnold?
Hey, how's it going?
I was sitting here listening to this debate about the blackface thing, and I don't know if has anybody ever watched David Chappelle's show?
Yes, I have.
He constantly did skits about white people. He would dress with white.
Yes, he did.
And he actually had one that was really funny. It was the racial draft.
Yep.
So I didn't find
I remember. Well, listen, I'm with you. Make no mistake about it. I'm with you. I'm not offended by any of this stuff. I am offended with what Ralph Northam did because we have to distinguish. He was taking a picture next to a guy dressed in a Klan outfit. There are different levels here, right? What you are saying, yeah. Listen, I don't have a problem with what Jimmy Fallon did. It didn't offend me. I don't have a problem with what Dave Chappelle did. He's a very talented comedian. All I'm simply saying is this. There are different levels to it. And if some African-American is going to call out Jimmy Fallon for the blackface, then you better call out Dave Chappelle. That's all I'm saying.
I totally agree, but I didn't have a problem with it. I thought it was hilarious.
I hear you, man. I hear you. Neither did I. Appreciate the call, my friend. That's a very Dave Chappelle's a genius, by the way.
Comedian Sarah Silverman said she was once fired from a movie after producers found a sketch from 2007 in which she wore blackface makeup on her show, the Sarah Silverman program. Well, she should ask our next guest, Mark Cohen, about that because he has worked with Sarah Silverman.
Oh, good. Yeah, he's coming up next segment. Let's go back to the phone lines at 257-5396. Let's go to Anthony. Anthony, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Anthony?
Hey, guys. Hey, how you doing?
Good.
I was telling your screener, I'm about to sue you guys. I'm on the way back from the hospital, right? And so I was just viewing patients' medical records.
Oh.
And, Brian, when you said that you're going to use that check to support Joe Biden, I almost crashed. That was absolutely great. I mean, perfect timing. I know, JD, you had to laugh a second. That was the best.
Hey, I'm serious. That guy who calls into our show, he's a dope. His name is Brady. I don't know what his last name is. Maybe Brady Klansman. I don't know. But Brady called into the show, and I made a bet with him. I said Schiff will not be in jail by June 1st. This was 6 months ago. Obviously, he's wrong. I knew it was an easy bet, and I will donate that money to the Democratic Party in the state of Nevada, or Joe Biden, or both. I'll split it up $50 each.
Hey, but by the
Great.
Yes.
I'm serious. I almost crashed. I almost had an accident. That was just too funny.
Don't get into an accident. I don't want to be responsible for that. Go ahead, my friend. What's on your mind? Did we lose you? I hope he didn't crash.
Yeah, I think he's gone.
I hope he didn't get into a car accident. That'd be horrible. Go ahead, JD. What did you want to
Well, yeah, so just came out that Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry has called for charges against a city police officer who held down George Floyd with a knee on his neck until the man appeared to lose consciousness.
I think that's inevitable.
Yeah, I think
that will happen.
he, at a minimum, he's looking at manslaughter. He might get murder one for this. It's
all
possible.
Right. We'll continue to cover the story all week. Let's go to Steve. Steve, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
Hey, what's up, Steve?
Steve, did we lose you? Boy, our phone. He's good. Oh, there you go. All right, Steve, what's going on?
Hey, hi guys. First of all, I greatly appreciate the show. I've told many of my friends, and I just mentioned to Sean, why don't you guys have a meet and greet? That would be a blast. And now I'd like to answer your question.
Right here in this kitchen,
Steve, because I'd have to wear a bulletproof vest. That's why.
There might be some truth to that.
Well, I appreciate that, Steve. Eventually, we will do that. We did it about a year ago, and once all this coronavirus nonsense is over with, I promise you, my friend, I will have 8x10 photos getting ready to sign them for everybody.
You
that
don't
shows
want
up.
listeners traipsing in and out of your bathroom.
That's true. Steve, what's on your mind, my friend?
This is the worst circumstances ever for that right now, Steve.
Yes. What's going on, Steve? Sure.
As far as the blackface thing, I'm Italian. 98% of my friends are not. I like people from all over the world, every country. You have to take things. Look, I'm Italian. People tell me Italian jokes. They say, "What's the 3 times in an Italian's life his name is in the newspaper? When he's born, married, and gets the death sentence." It doesn't bother me. So you have to every race, every nationality, every ethnic group. There's going to be certain things. The thing is, Brian, what magnitude do you push it to? That's the important thing. So I think that's something to keep in perspective.
Well, like what you said. Sure, quickly. Go ahead. Go ahead, Steve. Quickly.
Can I ask you a question?
Yep.
If I tell you a respectful Jewish joke, would that be okay? Is it okay if it's a respectful one? Is that okay?
Only if it's funny.
If I joke about Jewish women, is that all right?
Only if it's funny. Quickly. Go ahead.
Okay. A lot of Jewish women don't enjoy sex. That's not true. I know one who had multiple orgasms. 2 in her first marriage, 2 in her second marriage.
Okay, that's pretty funny.
That's offensive.
I am so offended by that. No, that was actually a funny joke. That was good.
Just because Jason's married, that's why he's offended.
I like that. That was a funny
That was
joke.
a very good one.
That was good.
I'm not going to confirm or deny if that's true.
but that's why Brian only dates.
It's not true.
Women of a specific ethnicity.
It's not true. It's not true.
Only.
It's not true. Not true at all. I respectfully disagree. Respectfully disagree. It's not true. I need a mix of a woman that is 5% Afghanistan, 5% Indian, 5% Asian, 5% white, 5% Jewish, 5% black. The list goes on and on. So yes, I agree. I need a mix of 20 or 30 different ethnicities. That's what I need. Yes.
You just want a hybrid. Okay, that's fair.
Well, I mean, I just don't want to be in marriages that you two guys are in. That's all. Is that going too far? I don't know. I want to be happy.
Good luck with that.
Is that a cheap shot?
Do I look not happy to you, Brian?
You guys seem very happy every day.
Do I seriously look unhappy to you right now?
You guys are happy, joy every day, although you guys argued for 45 minutes this morning before the show.
Brian's going to be the only person in the history of the world with a happy marriage. That's it. All right?
No, I'm happy because I'm not married. You see the
Actually,
difference?
Stein and I argued for like 4 minutes before the show.
Fair enough.
All right, wasn't even a big argument.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, great comedy, place to see a comedy show. It's called the Comedy Cellar at the Rio. The MC of that place is Mark Cohen. He's coming up next right here on the Vegas Take.
I mean, one of these better things. Great.
Special report coronavirus update. I'm Christopher Cruz.
I just
As
found
the
that thing
country
about
continues to
Sarasota, so we
reopen
could ask
and
about
life
that.
starts to return to
Maybe we
normal,
should ask him about
some
that.
states are going
I
at
guess
it
he was on
very
the Sarasota
slowly,
show.
among them New York.
At the height of the pandemic here in New York City, 850 people with coronavirus were admitted to hospitals. Today, the mayor said,
For a city of
Is there any more?
6 million people, only 55 people
the last-
admitted
is that the
to the
last
hospital
Butterfinger?
for suspected COVID-19. That's really good news.
the city still needs to see a further reduction in occupied ICU beds at the public hospitals in order to start the first phase of reopening.
We want to keep that under 375. We have a little more work to do. We're at 431 patients today.
The percentage of people testing positive for coronavirus here is 8%. It's been in the single digits for over a week. Steve Kastenbaum, New York.
Only about half of Americans asked say they'd get a COVID-19 vaccine. The findings by the Associated Press NORC Center for Public Affairs Research. I'm Christopher Cruz.
It's time to check the roads from the Love Road Traffic Studio.
Nightly MC at the Comedy
This
Cellar.
report
That's all I
sponsored
gave.
by Rocket Mortgage, by Quicken Loans. Emergency crews working to clear the accident 95 northbound near Eastern Avenue. Expect slowing from Charleston. And also on the service streets, an accident reported on St. Rose Parkway southbound at the 215 at the underpass. Avoid delays. Take an alternate like Eastern Avenue or Green
we're having
Valley
him on because
Parkway
he's like some
instead.
big star,
These
right?
are challenging times.
Works
Rocket
the comedy
Mortgage
show.
by Quicken Loans is
he was
prepared to
also
help.
on,
If you need
PD's
mortgage
half-hour
assistance,
program.
contact their team
There you go.
24/7
Yeah,
at
there's a Wikipedia page on
rocketmortgage.com.
it.
From their home to yours, the team at Rocket Mortgage is with
Comedy
you.
Central's
I'm
Make
John
Me
Michaels
Laugh,
from the
1998.
K-Don Traffic Center.
2 episodes
The
of
best
Food
choice
Lions
for
and
cleaning
Anywhere.
and sanitizing?
Numerous guest
Hazmat
roles on
Nation.
American
If you
sitcoms
work
such
in a
as
casino,
Sarah Silverman
hotel,
and Louie.
restaurant, anywhere where locals and visitors may shop or do business, then tell your boss or employer to call Hazmat Nation today at
doesn't have to be a half hour,
720-0352.
No, what
Hazmat
do you think
Nation
about
will send
Fallon?
their Top Gun field crew to clean and sanitize
won't be,
every
just
inch
like a
from top to
paragraph
bottom
of
with the
somebody's
top
career
technicians and safety officers.
You got the Wikipedia
Since
page.
2011, Hazmat Nation has been servicing many of the
Well,
world's
powerful.
top airlines, arenas, hotels, and
Glad you
hospitality
didn't go
venues of
panic.
every kind, following strict CDC and EPA guidelines. Hazmat Nation gets it done right the first time. Call Hazmat Nation at 702-730-0352. When they come out
Mark
to do a
Cohen
free
is on the
estimate,
line.
they'll send along a gallon of CDC EPA-approved hand sanitizer just to say thanks. And they can keep delivering it to you anytime you need it at everyday low-volume discounted prices. Call Hazmat Nation today at 702-730-0352 or go online to hazmatnation.com.
Don't miss the Trading Group Show, Sundays at noon on KDWN. Learn how you can earn a full-time income working from home as a trader. That's the Trading Group Show, Sundays at noon. The question line is 888-646-8787.
SportsX Radio Nation, what's up? It's Ken Thompson, host of SportsX Radio, reminding you to catch me at my new time, 8 to 10 p.m. for all the local Vegas sports coverage, plus the national scene as well. That's SportsX Radio on the new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.
Parents, stop making excuses for your children and do something to help them for the rest of their lives. Sign up at Infinity the Math Institute for the best math tutoring in the country, the best online math tutoring in the world. We help struggling students excel and help successful students get to the next level. We are also here for parents, offering free seminars explaining what your students are learning, why it seems different from what you learned, and how you can help your child do better. We also offer super affordable SAT prep classes on Fridays before our super popular Friday Fun Nights, where students and parents meet like-minded and driven families in a fun and constructive atmosphere. Coming to Infinity will be the best decision you've ever made for your child. Call 702-768-1777 or visit themathinstitute.com and tell them the Vegas Take sent you for a free assessment. That's 702-768-1777, because at Infinity, you don't get more math problems, you get solutions.
And now a game of commercial chicken, brought to you by Progressive, where we
Documentaries are
see how
very
long
hot.
Flo can go without
People are watching
talking about
documentaries.
insurance.
Very
Ready?
popular
Go.
genre.
So the weather
Tiger King.
is just all over the place lately, right? One day it's hot, next day it's windy for a while. It's like, make up your mind already. Drivers who switch to Progressive could save big.
Okay, you win. We can't help but save customers money. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDAR.
We've been locking people up for this whole time. Everyone's been providing weed. Interesting.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, you know, we just learned some good news for a lot of people that Nevada, Las Vegas going into phase 2. Well, what does that mean? It means we're maybe one step closer to a level of normalcy. I'll tell you what I miss more than anything. You know, I missed going to restaurants. I also miss going to shows, going to concerts. As anybody who knows me and knows me well, I go to a lot of comedy clubs on a weekly basis. I love live stand-up comedy. And I've frequented one of those comedy places, which is called the Comedy Cellar, located at the Rio. I've seen some great comedians there. It's a great date night. Go out with your friends, have a good time, have a couple drinks, and just get a bunch of laughs. I mean, to me, that's what life is all about. And the guy joining us on the line right now, he is the MC of the Comedy Cellar. You've also seen this guy best known for hosting Comedy Central's Make Me Laugh all the way back in 1998. Holy cow, I was a senior in high school. And, That's right. That's right. His name is Mark Cohen. Mark, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Hey, what's up, Mark?
Sure, I'm doing wonderful. I'm in the living the sauna life out here.
Yeah, it is pretty hot out there. So Mark, I got to ask you something, because I wanted to start with this because we were just talking about this Jimmy Fallon blackface scandal. And, Sarah Silverman, if you recall, she took a little flack for when she did that. So I know you were on the Sarah Silverman program, and you actually did a film with Sarah Silverman called Who's the Caboose? What do you make of this whole situation as a comedian yourself and this blackface stuff? I think there's different levels. I don't think Jimmy Fallon necessarily did anything wrong. What do you say to that?
It is. You're gonna try to get me in trouble now. I'm in blackface right now. No, I don't even know the Fallon situation that much. I do know he apologized pretty rapidly, which I don't know if it's the right thing to do. You maybe have to take a step back. And from what I understand, Chris Rock was involved. And, I guess people are going to get offended by anything anyway. And I also think Sarah apologized too, which I was a little surprised about as well. But
yeah,
it's a different time and people evolve. I guess thoughts change and things like that.
Aren't there levels of things you've been doing this for a long time, things you do on stage that you just don't do? For example, Kramer, right? Remember that situation?
I was just thinking of him because he was another guy. He was like one of the first guys that I believe got in trouble.
Correct.
For getting caught on stage and things. And I always thought, when it first happened, I was like, he was doing a bit. And, it just got out of hand. And he was, but then the next day he kind of comes out and says, no, I'm a racist and I'm going to go get help. And I'm like, oh, so, whatever I say, it doesn't
But what about, okay, so you were...
I worked with him a couple times and he was just out there and figured he was kind of doing a bit or an improv. And
yeah, it didn't go too well. It didn't go too well for him. All right, so you've worked with some controversial people. Now, I love Louis C.K. I'm a huge Louis C.K. fan. I love the show Louis, and you appeared on that show. Louis C.K. got into a little bit of he's been in a few situations. First of all, masturbating in front of women, just asking them, hey, can I masturbate in front of you? And
can't do that.
There's a lot of women that have come forward that are saying he made them feel very uncomfortable. What do you make of this guy? Because you worked with Louis C.K. You were on his show.
I did. I was in a couple of his short films, and we started off together. I love Louis, but I haven't talked to him in a few years. But it's another, you never. It's like it's like kind of looking at someone's relationship. You have no idea what goes on in their house. I love Louis. He's always been the sweet guy. I've never seen him do that.
He's never masturbated in front of you before. Is that fair to say?
Well, I'm not going to go on record saying. I mean, it wasn't something we talked about. He was like, "Hey, what are you doing? Let's go." You never know what people's going on. I would have never thought he had any kind. I thought he was a strange, esoteric guy, like we all are.
Yeah.
So, would you call that a master date under those circumstances?
He was the master at masturbating.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what. I love that show, Louis, and I also love Sarah Silverman. I'm a big fan of both of theirs. So I mean, I know you've been at this Comedy Cellar as the MC, and you do a great job in doing that. I've seen you before, and a lot of people are hurting. Right? It's one thing to watch a comedian on YouTube or watch a Netflix special or something, but it's another thing. I'm sure you'll agree, Mark, to actually be able to go to a show and watch stand-up comedy live, just like a concert or anything else. So, I mean, how have you dealt with this whole coronavirus situation? And are you writing new material? Like, how have you been able to get through this?
Well, it is tough. It's getting, when it first happened, I was like, oh, it's going to be 2 weeks and we'll be back, So it's gone on much longer than I thought. At first, it was kind of, I wouldn't want to say nice, but it was like, hey, we're just going to relax. I've been there. Sometimes I'd work 7 nights a week for, 6 months or something.
Wow.
Without a day off.
Wow.
So it felt pretty good, but now it's just crazy. And I know it's like riding a bike, though. As soon as you jump on, it's going to be like it was yesterday,
Yeah. I mean, it is a wild and crazy situation. If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Mark Cohen. He is the MC of the Comedy Cellar down there at the Rio. So phase 2 now. June 4th, I guess Steve Sisolak is giving casinos the okay to open up. In the last 24 hours, last few days, has the Rio, anyone over there given you guys any information on when exactly a comedy show would be able to open up? Because my understanding is phase 2 does not allow shows and entertainment venues to open up, right?
It's so crazy. I mean, it seems like being in a bar would be closer than being on stage. But at the same time, it's like, from my point of view, too, it's like people sharing a mic. You don't think about it. The audience is a couple feet away. So it's a crazy situation. They know I would love to be back on stage, the Cellar and the Rio. And I'm sure as they think it's safe, they're going to do it. But I hope it's you don't want to do it for 2 weeks and then go, oh, shoot, the MC got sick or whoever got sick.
Right.
And then they,
Sure.
It's kind of cool, though. I think it's interesting to do it if it's half capacity, where people are spread out. It's a totally different situation for a comedian, too. Comedians like people gather together and
right,
and they can feel the energy. So it'll give it a different vibe,
I would imagine there's going to be a lot of coronavirus jokes when you guys open back up. There's going to be a lot of jokes in regards to. I mean, there's nothing funny about 100,000 people dying, but there's certainly something funny about seeing.
140.
Yeah, but 140, then that could. Yeah, exactly. But no, in all seriousness, it's crazy.
It is a strange situation because when this started happening, it was still horrible, but we were still on stage and you couldn't make jokes about it. But other things that happened horrifically, you can't. So it's like, who knows if people will be talking about it.
Do you know a lot of comedians, people that have performed at your particular event, or just friends of yours that are doing live shows, on the internet for their fans at this time?
Do I know people that?
Yeah. Do you know a lot of comedians that are doing that?
Not really. I mean, I see the stuff go by. It seems hard. I saw somebody doing it outside in the back of a truck.
What?
In a movie theater, like a drive-in movie theater. There were all kinds of cars pulled up.
That's crazy.
And goes to each car, But how do you hear the laughter,
Oh my God, that is so bizarre. That is so bizarre. What do you make of the political spectrum we're in right now? I mean, is Donald Trump giving you a lot of material to talk about?
That's the other thing. It's like I've been doing this a long time. Like you said, this is the only time you can't even say the president's name without people getting mad. It's like even if the joke is like in favor of him, you're going to piss off half the people.
Has that happened to you where you've said something in one of your acts? Because like you said, you've been doing this a long time. Where somebody got so pissed off they walked out or they said something to you. Like, have you had situations like that on stage? Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, remember years ago, I was in Atlantic City, and they said, whatever you do, don't swear, don't swear, don't swear. So I'm not swearing. And all of a sudden, this group of, older people, they're probably my age now, but they got up and they're leaving. And I said, well, why are you leaving? They said, you're making fun of the president. I don't remember who the president was even, but it was like, what? You go into a comedy club and, you can disagree, but
People are idiots. I think that's just what it comes down to. People are idiots. I mean, you go to a comedy club, you're there to laugh. I love it. I remember I went to an Andrew Dice Clay show, and he was making fun of me, and it was probably the funnest 5 minutes I've ever had at a comedy show. I love that stuff. I guess there's people out. Do you think that people are just too sensitive? I don't understand why people walk into a comedy show and expect that they're not going to be offended by something. That's what makes it fun.
I'm the most unoffensive, I think. I don't, I swear, but I don't talk, but people get offended, and it's people. It's kind of like that lady in the park, the indignant, people become indignant.
Yeah, it's completely ridiculous. Well, I want to give you an opportunity before we let you go, Mark, to plug the Comedy Cellar. We hope that you guys obviously open again soon. Tell me a little bit about this club, because I know it hasn't been there that long, right? A few years, if I'm not mistaken. Tell me a little bit about the history of this club and what you guys do there.
In the Vegas one or the original in New York?
Give us both. I'd love to hear the one in New York and the history of that one as well.
The original in New York was my home club. And it really is, I believe, not because I work for the people, but the best club in the country. The way they treat the comedians and the quality of the shows. And when I found out they were thinking of doing a show here, I called up the owner, Noam, and I said, hey, I have a daughter here that goes to school here, and it would be great for me, and hopefully it would be good for the show and the club. And he was like, great idea. And so we kind of just moved hopefully the energy and the feel of the New York club to Las Vegas, and we did. It's a great club, and it's been growing every day. Even during the coronavirus, we're sold out.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, listen, we're glad we're glad that you're here. I know that was a joke. It took me 2 seconds to get that one, but that was funny. Well, listen, Mark, we're glad that you're here. We hope that the Comedy Cellar opens up so long as it's safe for everyone. We appreciate you taking the time to join us. Please stay safe, my friend, and I really do look forward to seeing you up on stage sometime soon because you're hilarious. You're and really good at what he does. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back,
I don't know if he did that third very long time.
Well, he's been doing this for like 40 years. That's a long time.
Very.
All right. Well, maybe the third very wasn't there. Okay, you're just being an a-hole. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back,
defending the guy.
Fine. Fine. I've had to deal with JD defending Donald Trump for 2 hours. Now I got to deal with you. It's ridiculous. Anyway, when we come back, the Vegas Golden Knights are in the playoffs, but it's so bizarre because what do you say about some of these teams that were a few games out and the season is over? We're going right to postseason. We'll talk a little bit about that. What does it mean for the Vegas Golden Knights? Also, what our thoughts are on the match. Not the first match between Phil Mickelson and Tiger, which I saw in Vegas, but the second match that also involved Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. There were some very two varies, funny moments in that match. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas
Hold
Tape.
up on the varies, man. You're out of control.
We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this.
Eat a Snickers.
It'll be a very, very, very fast break. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, K-Dawn.
I've always wanted to learn another language, so I decided to give Babbel a try, and I really like the teaching method of the app. I started with the beginner lesson on Babbel, and soon you're putting words into a conversation. Each lesson takes about 10 to 15 minutes, and they're all really different, which keeps things interesting. I can't wait to use my Spanish skills in real life. Dos cervezas, por favor.
Now try Babbel free. Just go to Babbel.com or download the Babbel app. That's BABBEL.com.
Looking for that perfect new piece of furniture for your home? A New Concept Furniture is the place to start and end your search. They'll beat any price on the internet, and they're here locally, so you can feel what you're buying first. Go to A New Concept Furniture today at 4255 South Grand Canyon to see for yourself the slick, modern, shiny store that mirrors our shiny city. A New Concept. Check out their showroom or call them at 702-570-2240. That's 702-570-2240.
Sean Hannity, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. Now back to the Vegas Take on 101.5 FM, 720 AM. KDON.
All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. As you know, we haven't had a lot of sports to talk about over the course of the last several months. I've talked about table tennis betting. I've talked about sumo wrestling. I did bet on Tiger versus Phil. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. But now the NHL said that they will, at some point, resume, not the regular season. The regular season is over. It's officially done. But they will have the playoffs. Now, exactly what that will look like, will there be any fans allowed in? Don't know, but they're saying by the earliest we could see NHL playoff hockey within a few months. So that's good news, certainly if you're a Vegas Golden Knights fan, because the Knights are in the playoffs. A lot of the teams that were just outside of the playoffs are getting screwed because their season is over. But Commissioner Gary Bettman recently made an announcement during a televised news conference revealing the league's return to play plan. And with that return to play plan, it appears as though Las Vegas is the ideal setup with all these hotels possibly to have many, maybe all of these playoff games in Las Vegas. I don't know how they would do that, but certainly it is a possibility. So that's the good news. And what they're saying is eventually players within the next few weeks are going to be able to voluntarily go back to practice in small groups. They're going to be doing it in stages, which I think is the responsible thing to do. But the good news is that the season is over, but the playoffs are not over, and that's a completely new season. Here's something interesting, though, with the Vegas Golden Knights that I wanted to bring up. This is what's interesting about these guys, and that is this. You know, they've donated a lot of money to help Las Vegas during this coronavirus tragedy. I mean, players have donated money. The organization has donated 7 figures. But now the Golden Knights are no longer allowing season ticket holders to defer payments for the 2020-21 season. As you know, during this coronavirus pandemic, they have deferred some of these payments for several months, and now they're saying you can't do that anymore. The team officially sent out an email earlier in the week notifying season ticket holders that their next payment will be processed today. Season ticket holders were given the option of delaying their payments in March and April, as I mentioned, due to the pandemic, but that is no longer the case. You know, I struggle with this a little bit because I appreciate the fact of what the Vegas Golden Knights did for this community on the October 1 shooting. I appreciate the fact that the players and members of the organization have really stepped to the plate in donating money to help people during this pandemic, particularly those that are out of work. They've done some good things. But this is weird to me. This is strange to me. Be consistent with it. Why now are you forcing people to pay for the 2020-21 season? Shouldn't you wait at least another couple months? Wait until the playoff season is over? I have a serious problem with this. I don't like it. I think, listen, I'm not taking anything away from the good things they've done. And listen, I have some issues with this organization, with the way they treat the media. I've been outspoken about that. And I will continue to be outspoken about that until I think they treat the media right. I'm not just talking about us. I'm talking about other members of the media. And they,
but mostly us.
No, I'm not just talking about us.
They kicked out the media out of their practice that one time.
Yeah, I remember that. And listen, I have friends in the media in this town that are TV people. I have people that have all been very consistent with me and said sometimes it is very difficult to get players and coaches for doing interviews and stuff like that. And anyway, I don't want to really go down that road, but let's just put it this way. Some of the way they handle certain situations with the media, I'm not a big fan of. Let's just put it that way. But with that being said, why now, during this pandemic, why now, when this season isn't even over with yet, at least the playoffs are going to be starting up hopefully sooner than later, why now are you forcing people to make payments? Is Foley hurting for money? Is the organization hurting for money? And by the way, between Major League Baseball and the NHL, we've learned that there are at least 20 organizations that have done what the LA Lakers have done, and that is gotten loans. Now, whether they paid those loans back, I don't know, but there are 27 organizations, and HBO Real Sports did a story on this, that are not answering the question, did you accept money? They refuse to answer it. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that they probably did. We found out that the Lakers did it. But between the NHL and Major League Baseball, 27 organizations have not refused to answer that question. I have a serious problem with that. And I have a serious problem with Foley and the Vegas Golden Knights organization that are worth boatloads of money, by the way. Boatloads of money. I have a serious problem with them notifying season ticket holders during this pandemic that their next payment would be processed today, and I would assume it was. What do you guys think about that?
I don't have a huge problem with it, Brian.
You don't have a huge
How about
problem?
you, Stein?
Well, we're talking about the deferral that they're not allowing people to defer their 2021 season tickets.
Right.
Well, they did allow people to take a break from making payments during the coronavirus. They're monthly. Apparently, you pay monthly, and so they let people take a break because maybe they're unemployed. You can't assume that everyone who goes to a Vegas Golden Knights game is filthy rich. There are people that maybe are struggling, unemployed, that just spend a lot of money on it because they love they love going to the hockey game. So if they could do it for a month or two, why are they not doing it for the deposits on next year? It's like, so I guess in theory, all these people that want to go next year aren't going to be able to because they don't have the means, the money right now. I don't know. It seems a little cold-hearted.
Well, I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. And I hope the Vegas Golden Knights maybe take a little bit of criticism and give people a few more months, at least till until we're in phase 4. I think it's inappropriate. But
how many employees are furloughed right now on the Golden Knights, Brian?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Because one particular professional sports owner, his name's Ted Leonsis, he owns the Washington Nationals, but he actually decided to not furlough any of his employees, and he's one of the only ones who's done this. And he basically he took the people who were making the most money and he gave them a reduction in what they're getting paid, and he added that money on to those who were getting paid on the bottom spectrum of things, which was very interesting. And it would be nice to see the Vegas Golden Knights do something like that. But I mean, this isn't a huge surprise. They've done this to ticket holders for. I mean, what happened last year? They completely raised the price on season ticket holders.
I don't like a lot of
they prevented, and then they prevented season ticket holders from selling their tickets.
Yeah,
so
completely ridiculous.
This isn't a massive surprise. And now that the Raiders are here, they sold out in about 2 hours. The home games in about 2 hours. So there's a little bit of competition here, and hopefully UNLV can get better. But yeah, for a couple of years, the Golden Knights were the only show in town, and that is not going to be the case now with the Raiders.
Competition is fine. I'm all for it. I don't like.
But they're all competing for the same amount of discretionary income.
I don't like the way the Vegas Golden Knights, the organization, has handled certain situations. I don't think they've handled this situation appropriately. I also don't like the way they've treated season ticket holders. Season ticket holders should be allowed to sell their tickets in any way, shape, or form they want to, whether it is a fan from the other team. Now, I understand the Vegas Golden Knights. It's a private organization. I get it. They could do whatever they want. I understand those are the rules, the laws, and the regulations, but it doesn't make it right. I have a serious problem with what the Knights have done, and I'll tell you something, folks. When and if the Vegas Golden Knights are not a playoff team, and when they're not a good hockey team, and eventually that will happen.
We'll see about
Eventually,
that. Free agents are going to keep flocking here, assuming that the economy stays the way it is,
and
where
when
there's no income tax.
And when that does happen, they better not treat people like this, and I don't think they will. And then they'll be begging for people. So I have a serious problem with that. We'll see how they handle this down the road.
We'll see if the fan base can stay active and ferocious and hungry when the Golden Knights are not a playoff
Speaking
team.
of ferocious,
but they make so many moves though. They make so many trades to put themselves in a position to be a winning team, and they're not afraid to make moves. That I'm not sure that's going to happen for a while.
Speaking of ferocious and hungry, two guys that have won a lot of majors on the PGA Tour, that would be Phil Mickelson and Tiger Woods. The match two, I guess, is what you called it over the weekend. And since we were on vacation, we didn't have a chance to talk about this. Tom Brady teaming up with Phil Mickelson versus Tiger Woods and Peyton Manning. A lot of funny moments out there on the golf course. It was competitive. Tom Brady, I think he hit one good shot, and that shot he hit moments earlier, Charles Barkley was talking trash to him through his headset and said, "Tom, I want to take you on the course and take your money." And then Tom Brady, from 85 yards out, holes out a shot and basically says, "Screw you, Charles." Brady got a little angry at Charles, I could tell. Brady said, "Look, Charles, I've been focused on football," which is true. Brady hasn't had time to work on his golf game. He's been focused on football. Peyton Manning's a pretty good golfer. Tiger looked really good. Phil looked pretty good as well, by the way. It was just fun to see a live sporting event in this aspect. Two superstars of the game of golf. I think it was a great atmosphere. Well, I shouldn't say great atmosphere. There was nobody there, but it was a great TV experience. And I think it was a funny moment when Peyton Manning hit a shot. Or missed a putt or something, and then he said, "I'm having trouble focusing because of the crowd noise," and there was literally nobody there. So I thought that was really funny. There were a lot of funny jokes.
I thought it was funny when Peyton said, "Yeah, I considered Nick Foles as my caddy." Basically, Bill Belichick, any quarterback who has beaten Tom Brady in a Super Bowl, he wanted to be his caddy. And I thought that Eli Manning's commentary, his tweets were outstanding too, because he joined Twitter just so he could comment on this particular match. And I really enjoyed the fact that Tiger Woods, for the first time that I've ever seen him, he was wearing shorts. That was kind of interesting to see.
Well, they don't allow that on the PGA Tour. Brooks Koepka called in too during a moment after Brady made that shot, and I thought that was really, really cool as well. All in all, I think it was
that was a hell of a shot, by the way.
Did Brady split his pants?
He did split his pants.
Did you mention that?
Yeah, he did. He split his pants, which was...
And then he made a social distancing jab after that.
Yeah, so we got a view that Giselle gets every night before she goes to bed. Anyway, thanks for joining us, everybody. It's been a fun show.
What?
Fun show as well. Giselle, she gets to see Brady with his legs, split.
The pants were split in the back, right?
Oh, in the back.
Yeah. That's why.
That's even worse. Okay, that's even worse. My goodness.
I'm starting to wonder about your personal habits, Brian.
Well, I wear my habits on my sleeves, so to speak. All right, guys, it's been a fun show. We'll be back at you live tomorrow. We're not taking any vacation anytime soon. That's the good news or the bad news, whichever way you want to take it. But Sean Hannity coming up next, folks. Have a great afternoon. Catch you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us.
Your home for Sean Hannity, KDWN Las Vegas.